Hello and welcome back to Blood and Ashes. This is episode 81. I'm your host Mo, and I'm joined once again by my rain-soaked friends Jody.
Hello, fellow humans.
And Willie.
I am not as soaked as you. Fact.
Well, yes. I mean, if you're alluding to the recent weather events around the mid-north coast of New South Wales, I am still dry, but Rand and the Asha'man and his forces, not so dry.
All right. I literally thought you were meant about Australian rains. Okay. Yes.
No. Australia is unimportant.
You alluded to the point of the book being wet and snowy and bogged down. And
okay.
all the rest.
We're talking about the book.
Yes.
What are we doing
I
again?
flipped it back on him, saying, but you're also quite wet over there, mate.
It wasn't too bad, yeah. It wasn't too bad. A little bit south of us and in Sydney, they got like a month's worth of rain in a day.
Yeah, they got like
flooding.
big rain.
Yeah.
It's autumn and winter coming in Melbourne, so expect rain every day with some sun.
Yes.
Hail, snow, wind, icicles,
A little bit of mist,
Satan,
breezes,
Satan.
bergwind,
Yeah. Shaitan, you mean.
all of it.
fire, all of it.
Yeah. I mean, this is actually a good segue. Maybe back to the original point that I was trying to segue to with the weather in the books. But man, the Rand chapters in this book are to overuse a word I've been using, are just bleak. Hey, like it is just rough going. Those storms in Illian sound unpleasant. And we get a bit of, like, speaking of weather, a bit of like a quick synopsis of how quickly the weather changed for Elaine and Nynaeve and those guys as they travel as well. There's like literally a paragraph where it says 9 days after using the Bowl of Winds, it started, and then it started snowing, and then it started this,
Hey,
and then it started.
get out of my chapters. Come on, man. What are you
always in
doing?
your
I've only got like
chapters.
5 lines of notes, and you come ramble off 2 of them.
Sorry, everyone. Sorry. Something else that had me quite bamboozled in these chapters was, for some reason, and I mean that reason could just be that I'm an idiot, I thought that Ebou Dar was to the east of Illian, which obviously isn't. That's Tyr.
No.
Yeah, they share a border. That's why they're so pissed. That's why they hate each other all the time. But for some reason, I just had Ebou Dar off to the east. So every time they talk about Rand positioning the army on the Silver Road and like facing this way, I'm like, why is he focusing on that direction? They're going to be coming from the other direction. And then eventually I clicked. I was like, oh, no, you're just an idiot. Rand knows what he's doing. His face is absolutely facing in the right direction and keeping a watch on where he should be.
Moritz Frauenstein, not one of the great generals. Yeah.
No.
Go west. West.
Flip a coin. I don't know.
Go that way.
Cool. Well, I don't know. Are you guys ready to go? I'm buzzing on caffeine.
Let's do it.
It's much earlier in the evening than what we usually record to like give the listeners a peek behind the curtain. So I also want to
Also a whole different day.
It's a whole different day. It's a different time of day. My family is still awake. So if you hear noises in the background, those would be my young children going to bed now. Usually we record this when they're already fast asleep.
It's 10:30 in the morning on a Friday work day for me, so if you hear my mobile phone buzzing in the background, we might just have to take a little break.
All of that is to say, I'm brimming with energy, so I just want to dive straight into everything. So if you guys are ready, we can move along.
Let's do it.
Born ready.
Let's do it. And by it, I mean callbacks. Okay, so the talk of the Black Arger Oaths had me thinking about the 2 Black Arger sisters captured at the end of The Dragon Reborn. Do you remember Joya and Amiko that they captured in Tyr, that they were questioning there? Joya spins a whole story about freeing Mazrim Taim and letting him pose as the dragon so Rand would cop the heat for that. But Amiko mentions something about a danger to Rand being in Tanchico. I thought that was weird because for Amiko to say that would be contradicting her Black Arger oath to not divulge anything about their plans or machinations.
Huh.
Oh, maybe she was lying and didn't know for the reality of what was there.
Wow, that is a massive leap, considering that the rest of the sisters went to Chanchiko to get the thing that does pose a danger to Rand. I don't think she got that lucky.
It's like
Hey,
literally
throw it out
half
there.
a book's worth of plot line comes from that statement.
I mean, that would be a reasonable, but I think what you've illustrated is just the absurdity of like it being anything but what we suspect it is. And so that just made me wonder, like maybe those oaths were, devised by RJ and enshrined after the events of the Dragon. Actually, they talk about the interrogations happen at the beginning of Shadow Rising, obviously, because that's when they've just finished the whole assault on the Stone of Tyr.
Righto.
Then, Jody, I was defiant in the last episode about Leah's death by balefire and what that meant for her and her rebirth and anything. And the quote...
2 episodes back?
No, I think it was the last one. Anyway, I took the note while I was editing it, so it must have been the last one. I didn't listen to 2 episodes back.
Just feels so long ago.
It does. So the quote that you were referring to, Jody, was by none other than Robert Jordan himself, who said he was asked in an interview, does balefire, is that a permadeath? Like, does that preclude you from being reborn or anything like that? And his answer was no, it doesn't. So the burning of the thread out the pattern does not signify some kind of end worse than death. The fact that question was asked is probably stemming from my same assumption about the fact that the Dark One can't resurrect the Forsaken that have been balefied. And that is, as Jody said in the last episode, that it's because there's a specific amount of time. The Dark One, apparently, there can be some time after a death when the Dark One can still resurrect someone, but that time does actually expire. And if it's too far away, and if we think about like the balefires that have been used, I mean, I think Rand is channeling balefire the width of his like outstretched arms and stuff, right? Like it's not a little tickle over here. No. And what sparked the whole, so like, I mean, that raises them far back enough in the past so that the Dark One can't, it's not that he doesn't know that they were, it's just that the actual quote unquote death happened so far in the past because of the amount of balefire used, that time frame during which he can resurrect them has expired. So Joe, I apologize, quite right from the horse's mouth itself.
No need for an apology. We're all here to learn.
The
teacher will
absolutely.
take everyone to school.
We get ragged in this section often. You should get ragged. Even you ragging yourself.
I am. No one is spared my wrath.
I like that. No sparing, spared no expense.
Absolutely not.
But I have a question to you into that section. Like mentioning the width of balefire in arms, Rand's stretch of arms, like width.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think balefire can be made wide but less intense so that you hit this a wider thing of objects like a shotgun, like big area, little penetration?
Maybe.
Or is it as thicker the beam of balefire goes, the more intense it is? And
I think
like
that's
if I got to zap you with like, pow, balefire versus balefire.
I think that's because it's the only way, well, not the only way, but it's an easy way for Robert Jordan to convey how much balefire is actually being used. If it's a huge beam, you naturally think, okay, that's a lot of it, and therefore would burn them out further back. And also remember, Rand was preparing to balefire Samael when he changed direction and went to Leah. So like it wasn't like, oh, I'll just use a little bit to take her back. He jammed her with a lot of one of our Kiwi compatriots. I feel like
white big beams of
the
death,
white light of justice. white light of justice.
Yeah, exactly. I think the strength of the power is directly proportional to the girth of the beam.
I think so.
I don't like that word.
Yeah, I know, but everyone's using penetrate, and I thought I'd throw something in as well.
Okay, so let's move on from the double entendres to I'm going to come clean here again and confess to the fact that I must be a little bit slow because Egwene's decision to camp in Mirandy for a month before traveling to Tarvalon is obviously based on Gareth's request. When she asks him, how long would you rest your soldiers? He said, 10 days will be fine, but a month would be great. And she goes, okay, she files that away. And then when she makes the announcement, it's a month. So she's resting the soldiers and then traveling right to the gates so that they have that rest. Did you guys make that connection?
Not
Yes.
at all.
Did you not?
Clearly not. No. Okay.
Did you not?
All right, Vil,
Did you
you're in
not?
charge. You're running the show now. Okay. I'm demoting myself.
Well, big mistake doing that. Like we're going to tangent off all the time. Just you stick to it. I'll
All
just
right.
correct you.
Now, before you get too lippy,
Too tangenty.
too tangenty,
Uh-oh.
too preachy, in the epilogue of Lord of Chaos, when Halima frees Mogedion from the Adam, it is stated outright that it's Halima that is Arangar. So that reveal has been said to the, not even like, they don't even need to infer it. It's like, it's stated to the reader.
Ah, okay.
Well, there you have
That
it.
is, I know exactly where that stems from.
Well, we've read the story, so we know. So it's hard to remember like what's been revealed to a new
But
reader
it's a
or not.
prequel, though. Is a prequel part of the story? Does it really count? Is
Not a
it
prequel, it's an
chapter one?
epilogue. It's literally the last bit of
Ah,
text
it's
in
epilogue. Yes.
the previous.
Billy's just looking for
book.
excuses,
Prelogue,
man.
prologue.
He's trying to weasel out of it.
This is all stemming from that little interstitial chapter with Arangar burying Salami's body in the snow that we spoke about last time. So I went back and I read that little section again just to see why was it shown to us, and I didn't get a lot from it. Maybe it's just a reminder that Halima is Arangar, or that Arangar is there busy causing chaos. We know from the chapters that we read last time that Arangar is like actively interrogating Sheriam.
Unless we've all forgotten that there's a chapter later in the books where they find a body that's newly melted out the snow, and there's context to it.
Well, we'll wait and see. Another,
Do we?
I don't know how many, 7 books to go. We'll see.
Then, Vili, another one for you to just stuff in your pocket. Egwene's morning doesn't start with Lelaine and Ramanda showing up. You were wondering, like, what is this weird time consistency? That section starts with a brief description of how Egwene's morning is just filled with paperwork and drudgery and stuff, and she's waiting. She knows eventually, sooner or later, Lelaine and Ramanda are going to show up, and then they do, and then Chessa comes in with lunch. So it's not the first thing in the morning that they walked in. So the time inconsistency isn't there. It's okay. It holds water.
If you're going to bring time into it, you have to be precise, because time is a precise thing.
Sure, it is.
The most precise, I'd say.
The most precise thing. How many glasses of wine have you had, Vil?
17.
Oh
no, then you're
Billy
fine.
measures
Okay,
it in
cool.
bottles.
Yes, no, 17 glasses.
Doesn't know how many glasses.
Standard operating procedure. The chapter that I thought of when we spoke about King Rodran and his desire to pay for the Band of the Red Hand to be his army, I've sort of made an offhanded comment. Wasn't there mentioned earlier that the king doesn't hold any power? And Jody, you responded with, isn't that like every ruler in the book? Like
Yeah.
their influence only stretches like a day's walk from the castle, wherever they are, that sort of thing. But it's in Fires of Heaven in chapter 11 when Swan and Min and Logain and I almost said Leanne, when they all show up in Lugard, there's a brief description of how the lords, the nobility in Mirundi don't even pay their taxes. Like there's no respect shown to the king. So the king wants to buy the band because he doesn't have an armed force to sort of enforce his rule. So that's why he wants Telmanis and the band to work for him. Another error we made was that Takima does not support Ramanda. So remember, Takima is the sitter that knows the law really well. She's the one that can read stuff and remembers everything, and she explains to everyone in that hall in the meeting what the rules mean. And we were saying, it's because she's sick of Ramanda. Like, why did she help Egwene? She wasn't one of the 2 young sitters. She was a Brown Archer's sister with lots of knowledge about the law. And we couldn't figure out why she just kept her mouth shut when even Egwene notices that Takima knows what's about to happen. And we said that Egwene had this tremendous stroke of luck, a lot of planning and stuff, but this one stroke of luck that really made sure that her plan worked. The answer to that question, I think, is Morvryn, who is one of the original Saladar Six. When Egwene sends her Saladar Six to go plant seeds with the sitters, so she did that with, obviously, the nobles before that meeting out on the ice. She did it as well with the sitters. She had them go talk to them. Before they have that meeting, actually, I think it's the day before, unimportant, but they walk out of the tent, and Egwene notices Morvryn walking with Takema, talking to her, like arm in arm, like leaning over while they're walking, talking into her ear. And Morvryn and Takema is sort of looking like... Not confused or anything, but she looked in thought, And Egwene is surprised because she thought that Morvryn would have gone to one of the other Brown Archer sitters, but she had gone to Takema. And I think what Morvryn said to Takema there put enough doubt in Takema's mind in what, the rest of the ice, that maybe we should just see where Egwene goes with this whole thing. So it's not just blind luck. She didn't just... it's not that she sent Morvryn to speak specifically to Takema. She's lucky in the sense that Morvryn did do that. But Takema didn't just out of the blue decide to forsake all of her previous goals and stuff. It is an influence from the Saladar Six who are sworn to Egwene, I think.
All right. I think that there's the fact that there's a passage that those two were together talking is enough evidence to suggest...
It must be, because why
some
else?
Sort of priming. Yeah.
Yes. But it is so brief. That's why we just read straight past it. Then I had another just little glimmer of a memory when I said, didn't Egwene have a previous idea for the declaration of war? Because I was saying this is Swan's plan, right? Like Swan's come up with this idea. Let me quickly read you this little section from A Crown of Swords.
Brother Maynard, consult the holy texts.
The Book of Armaments. Only one tower law specifically limited the power of the Amelin seat. Remember, this is in A Crown of Swords, so this is way before. A fistful of irritating customs and a barrelful of inconvenient realities, but only one law, yet it could not have been worse for her purposes. The Amelin seat being valued with the White Tower itself at the very heart of the White Tower, she must not be endangered without dire necessity. Therefore, unless the White Tower be at war by declaration of the Hall of the Tower, the Amelin seat shall seek the lesser consensus of the Hall of the Tower before deliberately placing herself in the way of danger, and shall abide by the consensus that stands. Do you remember this? How Egwene felt hamstrung by not being able to do anything because she couldn't put herself in danger. And then a little bit later, she's talking about Romanda and Lelaine when she says, without them, both of them, the lesser consensus lay as far out of reach as the greater. Light, even that declaration of war only required the lesser consensus. So if she could not obtain permission, ... Leanne cleared her throat. You can hardly do much, blah, 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 blah. And then it goes. So here, Egwene is thinking about a declaration of, wait, if I can get a declaration of war, and then the thought is interrupted. There already, a whole book before, the seed is planted. So it's not just Swan. I think Egwene can take some credit for this great idea.
Yeah, so it was her idea, but then she went to Swan for all the deets.
Probably.
Break this down for me. How are we going to make this happen?
That's right. I listened, obviously, to the episode again after I'd edited it. I listened to it when we recorded, when I edited, and then I listened to the episode in full again when it's released. So I was just taking note, Willie, of just how many times you said the conversations between Romanda and Lelaine are worthless and mean nothing. And we have to, after this event, we have to forget everything that they said. And it's just I fully understand now just how annoyed you were by having to read those words. And Joe, you also chimed in. You were like, can we just have, Lelaine came in and then spewed forth, blah, blah, blah.
Spewed forth.
So that made me think about what I think about those chapters, and I think it's a purposeful juxtaposition. It solidifies the idea that Lelaine and Romanda are in charge, and it even hints at Romanda getting an upper hand over Lelaine, which could spell an end to this stalemate, right? Romanda is saying, Lelaine, I seem to recall you're the one that supported Merilil being in charge in Ebou Dar, and look what a fuck up that is. So maybe we should be, and Romanda's getting all stoked about it. But then when Egwene gazumps them, It's just that much sweeter. Again, I wasn't bothered by it in the least. It's actually only a couple of pages, but you're probably feeling the full weight of like the lengthy build-up because it has been many here in that section I just read from A Crown of Swords. It's like chapter 11, so it's like more than a book ago. It's already happening. Like we've been reading about it for a long time. But Willie, you mentioned something great that I picked up on this listen, and it's that we feel the same frustration and annoyance that Egwene feels, right? So these petty arguments are building and building and building, and she's frustrated by them. And as is evident from our podcast, so are we. Like we are so over it, so that when it does actually break, it does feel that much more satisfying, as again evidenced by my favorite moment not being the fact that Egwene came up with this great plan, but my favorite moment was specifically when she shut down Lelaine and Romanda, and it's because of all of this lead up. Then I was thinking randomly about the Sindain and Moghedian visit to Grendel, as you do, about how easily Grendel overcame them both. They just stood there not doing anything, and Grendel just throws out compulsion, and she's got both of them ensnared, and they just sort of stood there while Grendel was doing combat rolls and like turning on the lights and throwing weaves and stuff. They were just fucking hanging out.
Yeah.
But it's obviously because they arrived first, but Shida Haran was on his way. It's not like he sensed something happening from afar and then decided to show up. They were coming in there to prime Grendel, and then Shida Haran was going to show up anyway. So they didn't feel the need to do anything. So that, to me, at least explains a little bit why, Lanfear and Moghedian, two of the most feared Forsaken. I mean, Lanfear, one of the most powerful, certainly more powerful than Grendel, even though she had a sangreal on her finger, or an ungreal. But Moghedian also acting out of sorts. Remember when it happened, we said Moghedian only ever strikes when she's guaranteed a victory. That's her whole thing. Yet here, Moghedian was the one that turned out the lights and then just stood there. And just took the weave of compulsion. So I think it must be because they knew that Shida Haran was about to arrive and take charge of the situation.
Assured of success.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
And then the last one from me is when Fedwin Moore reports from Ebou Dar that he found the site where an Aes Sedai weapon was used and how Saidin behaved strangely there. In the last episode, I said, okay, cool, that's because of the Bowl of Winds, right? Which it is in part. Because it caused the weirdness, but the evidence of what everyone thinks was the weapon is actually the unraveling of the gateway. So everyone that listened to callbacks, I mean, all three of you that thought, Moritz, you fucked up. It's because of the gateway, not because of the bowl. Here you go. This is me acknowledging that I made that mistake.
Let's clarify this before we continue, because there's a lot of talk of the weirdness in these upcoming chapters. Is the weirdness because of the Bowl of the Winds, that they didn't use it properly? Mm-hmm. Or was it because of the weave unraveling? Okay, or it's not a combination of the both. It's specifically the bowl.
In fact, the weave unraveling, I think, is at least in part, while it is a difficult thing to do, also in part because of the use of the bowl. Everything is weird. The weaves are sort of writhing around as if they're alive.
Yes.
Remember when Elaine channels the gateway and like she struggles and then suddenly it pops out and it actually shocks her. The weirdness is from the bowl itself, because the bowl, as Moradin comments, is only it'll only change the weather in this small area.
Locally, yeah.
Yes, but they pumped so much power through it that it was pushed way beyond its capability, and that's what caused the weirdness. And that's according to Robert Jordan himself, so that's not us just theorizing here.
Righto. I'll take that as gospel truth.
Yes. Cuts both ways, eh? Balefire and weirdness in the pattern.
Yeah, I didn't really have a strong opinion either way about the weirdness. I just wanted an answer.
Yeah, but you're right. I mean, we do hear about it a lot here. Then we have two listener contributions. The first one from Adam McKinnon, who wrote in to say that he's convinced the chair that collapses under Egwene is the same one that Nynaeve busted during the Bubble of Evil attack. This is the second time he's written in about that, because this is the second time we've heard about Egwene sort of like sitting and like fixing the chair and that sort of thing. So I went back and I looked up the events and I read it, and what Nynaeve was sitting on during that Bubble of Evil attack was a stool, and what Egwene is sitting in is a chair. So I think it's not the same.
Yeah, you're not the same.
Sorry, Adam.
Yeah. Sorry.
Well,
for a second there, I reverted to my high school pronunciation of Egwene.
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 Yeah. It's always been Egwene for me.
It was for
because
me
I spoke to you about it first. So
yes.
All my pronunciation
I've
comes
poisoned
from you.
everyone around me.
Egwene's in Kierhain. Oh no, wait. Who's where?
And then our second contribution is another voice note from our number one fan, Adrian. And it goes a little something like this.
A haiku for Willie. An arrow brings pain. Malkieri king is nigh. Speaks Tai Shar Candor.
I listened to that and I don't know what a haiku is. I know it's some sort of abstract poetry.
Aren't you the one that requested one? I'll put a definition of a haiku in the next callback section, but it's like a 3-line Japanese poem that doesn't rhyme. It's got a specific number of syllables in each line.
It's
and the
like
last
555.
Yeah, like 585 or something. I don't remember.
Something like that.
But the last line is also you're supposed to do something with the meaning of it, like it's supposed to like change the first part of the poem or something.
Super clear. All right.
Yes. Okay, now that it's on record and broadcast to the whole world what I think a haiku is, in the next episode's callbacks, I'll put in what an actual haiku is and see how close I got.
All right.
Okay, well, thanks a lot, Adrian. We'll work our way up to that sonnet that Jody mentioned.
A sonnet for Jody.
Yes.
No, not a haiku for Willie.
Willie.
Okay, now, previously on Blood and Ashes. Okay, I'm going to keep this brief because all of last episode centered around a single plan and an event. So this is a Moritz brief. Okay, so
30 seconds.
30 minutes.
all you got.
Here we go. Okay,
Go.
ready?
30 seconds. Go.
Egwene tells the Hall they will stop for a couple of days. She's barely hanging on to what little power she has in the rebel camp as Lelaine and Ramonda regularly run roughshod over her. Alima kills Salami and hides her body and also beats Sheriam for not being able to tell her what Egwene is up to. The Sitters find out about the Andoran and Mirandian nobles and armed forces camped ahead of them, and Lelaine and Ramonda both demand to take charge of the negotiations. When they go to meet the nobles on a frozen lake, Talmanis is also there, and the Sitters learn Brian has been meeting with him. Despite what the Sitters wanted Egwene to say, she announces they will camp where they are for 1 month and leave without passing through Andor. Also, the novice book is open to any woman of any age. The nobles are skeptical and opt to stick around and keep an eye on these Aes Sedai. When they all mingle, Talmanis tells Egwene she obviously doesn't need him, and he feels the tug of Mat, so he's going to stop trailing them with the band. Apparently, King Rodran of Mirandia has offered to hire the band for some gold. Egwene makes Talmanis promise not to get caught up in a war she would be responsible for since she led the band here. He agrees and compliments her abilities. They leave for the Aes Sedai camp, and the Sitters are furious. When they return, the Hall is called to sit, but before Ramonda and Lelaine can run away with proceedings, Egwene tables a proclamation of war against Elida. The very young Sitters all vote in favor, and eventually they reach a minor consensus and war be declared. Takima schools the Hall on what that means. The Amyrlin is calling the shots now. Egwene tells them that in 1 month they will travel to Tarvalon via Gateway and begin the siege of Tarvalon. And that brings us to today's first chapter, which is chapter 20, called Into Andor. Why don't you get us into a summary, Willie?
Into an Andorian summary, I sure will. Point of view of Queen of Andor, Elaine.
Mm-hmm.
Not because Morghese is dead, like some might think, but because she absconded the crown. What is it? Abscond?
Not quite.
What did she do?
Abdicated.
Abdicate.
Abdicated.
Something with an A, yeah.
Something with an A. We are somewhere on a hilltop, and we're en route to Caemlyn with Elaine and those terrible crowd of women. Okay, I say terrible crowd because it's just a lot of infighting and stuff. Anyway, it's been a while since we dealt with this crowd. If you do remember, we've had gateways and bowls and bombs and like the whole lot of shit went down. They still battle scarred, but they are on the move. Now we're fresh from said battle, although it doesn't feel like it. But Lan pulls a crossbow bolt, which is different to an arrow.
Mm-hmm.
They're generally thicker and more like broad-headed. Like it's the big gun. Well, he pulls one out of Brigitta's leg, body, and she takes it like really well. And Lan comments on it like Tai Shar Candle. obviously fishing with a candor because she's dressed in Cantori, but she just sticks it. And Elaine has
That is not her character. But yes.
she accepts it. But yes, you know what I mean. Like
Yeah.
yes,
She barely
Cantori
flinches, right?
shrugging shoulders. Hey?
Elaine's sort of like commenting on how she can feel the stab of pain and agony through the bond, but Birgitte's
through the
hardly
bond.
making a sound, yeah. And that's why Lan is also like,
Yeah, no.
holy shit,
She's
Tai
tough.
Shark handle.
And the Tasha obviously firm because Lan is pulling it out. He's like, ooh. I felt how deep that was in your bone. Like I had to wiggle it. You know, when something's stuck in so hard in a tree, you gotta wiggle it out and then pull it. It was like that. It wasn't in the flesh, it was in the bone. Anyway,
Billy
that leads.
just adapting the story to suit his narrative.
Stop
It's
calling
like
him
a
Rafe.
D&D. There's a window on the roof. No, there isn't.
Look, you have to merge these things to make it look all sensical for me. Anyway, let's move on.
Okay.
Now, if we are reminded about this group is a bunch of Aes Sedai. There's kinswomen, there's seafolk, there's warders, there's nobles, there's craftswomen, there's windfinders. There's a whole mixed bag, and a lot of them are ladies. Elise, though, still has total control of this harem of women that's traveling together. And Nynaeve is back to her normal Nynaeve. Like, we were happy that all of this spilled over and blocks and all of the rest. She's tugging braids again. And this time because there's a more in control woman than her there. Just the pure insecurities. Now, Adelaide and Van Dien has taken control of Ispan, and Elaine hopes that the people in Andor, which they're riding into her estate there, don't notice the other Aes Sedai with a sack over her head.
Yeah.
Not a sack,
Don't mind her.
Do-do-do-do-do. Nothing to see
a
here.
leather bag.
Leather bag.
Like,
Isn't it a
you
leather
can't
sack?
breathe through a leather bag, like a leather sack. Like it's a.
It's a
So is
satchel.
it like, like one of those masks where your nose and your mouth sticks out, like a gimp mask or something?
I was about to say, that's a gimp mask.
I don't
The
think
big
so.
red like pool ball strapped into her mouth.
I mean, it can't be a complete sack around her head because she'll
No,
suffocate.
I don't think it's tied around the throat. It's just loosely
Well,
placed over her
sacks
head.
get tied. It's like a leather.
They're not
like,
tying this
You
one.
don't have a loose fitting sack, leather sack.
Again,
Otherwise, they
You
call
do.
it a hood,
no.
like the hooded, the leather hooded.
You're drilling into the wrong points here. Val. This is so
I
inconsequential.
You complain
But
about
it
Moritz's
mattered.
callbacks being... and here we are about leather satchels
All right.
and straps.
Look,
Gimps.
they make this manor house or whatever they landed at, and it's bath time. Like, we're jumping from the main scene or the one scene to the next scene, and now all four of the girls are having a frolicky bath together. Avienda is really still not amused at the idea of sitting in water up to her breasts. Is a very weird thing, but they are sharing hilarious jokes and stories. And Elaine wishes that she had one to share, although she does. She just doesn't want to remember it. And they're sharing some jokes and there's some hair brushing. And we wake up the next morning. Groggy Elaine didn't have a lot of sleep. They get their horses and the pack animals ready, and the party's ready to move again. The warders scout the route, and they get on with it pretty much. During this, there's a lot of inner monologue with Elaine where she is reflecting on specifically succession and how her people, because we're in her country now, is feeling about it. So the big part of this whole period is her like listening to what people have to say about the queen and the princess and the whole shooting match. So there's a lot of referencing to that through this chapter. Now they're a big party, but it's weird that they've got one woman with a leather sack over her head. But alas, they go on. Now, some of these nobles that are now being stripped of their horses, because nobles fall under Aes Sedai, and you've got windfinders and the whole mix there. But you've got 2 goldsmiths, 3 weavers that collectively have more than 400 looms. Like, these are Lanis. The 10th highest seller of lacquerware in the whole of whatever, and a banker. Anyway, but they're on the foot, and their horses are pack animals and walking. Nynaeve has been declared the master of coin, which is apt. She's as stingy as anything. So it's a very not spending government that they have at the moment there, and everyone has been what's the word? Not relinquished of their coin.
Relieved.
Relieved.
Of the burden of carrying gold, and
It's very heavy.
Nynaeve is carrying all of that gold.
Famously.
Eventually, yeah, it's very hard, very heavy metal. You are right, Jody. They reach camp, and that night, there's a bit of protest around the nobility that's moving with that were at the house having time of reflection. And they were told that, hey, and this is by lease now, at whatever point of time you feel that you want to go, you can go. But you will be parting with your horses and the things that we need for this party to move forward, but you will be compensated at wartime prices, which most of them sort of, okay, cool, we'll stay. And then if you do stay, the rules of the farm is still applicable. And that reminds her the last 10 that made it through the gateway is the 10 that's washing up. And also mentions who the 10 is. Like, she remembers everything. Nynaeve's probably spitting fire at this point in time that the woman is so in control.
I thought about you
now
here,
then-
Willie. Like, the pot scrubbing's back. Willie's going to be so stoked. You 10.
No, I particularly left that part off because it's not Aes Sedai scrubbing pots, it's nobility. I've no
So it's
problem
fine.
with nobility. They can't magic. People who can magic don't scrub pots. Like, that's just the number one thing. That's like, once you've learned to wipe your bum, you don't drag your ass on the grass.
Willie's
So
Willie's
wise.
very much in the Asha'man mindset, One
Yes.
power for everything.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, absolutely. Anyway, there's a lot of fast forwarding now into this very long journey. The dusty roads starts. They eventually get off the beaten track into dusty roads, into farmlands, and heading into the heart of Andor now. Elaine, as I said, very much focused on the conversations of the people. She wants to get a feel of what the locals gossip about Elaine. So there's again, it's going to sound a bit like but a lot of it is part of this whole chapter. The drought obviously took its toll, and we are pre-change of weather now. We're still dusty, dry, maybe a little bit cooler. It's sort of when the autumn winds roll in, type of stuff. But one thing that she does pick out through the conversations or the proxy conversations that's had with the Andorian people is that they very much blame Rand for everything. Rand is
As you
the
do.
reason there's stillbirths, the reasons the lambs break their legs, the reason for everything is Rand. And then eventually she meets an Andorman that basically tells the story as it is, truly happening. And then you go like, okay, cool. So there's still some truth out there with the peoples that spread propaganda
Rumors.
or stories.
Propaganda.
Now
Yeah,
the
I mean, we spoke about this
Windfinders-
last time. Like, Robert Jordan always puts in all these different rumors, but always one of them is the spot-on
one of
truth.
them is just one of the truths. Now the Windfinders and the Aes Sedai are into each other, but the Windfinders are also demanding their training, and then the kinswoman gets involved backing the Aes Sedai, and then the Windfinders are into the kinswoman, and it's just a triangle of a cacophony of arguing, is what I'll say.
Is a
Is
cacophony
Spanish
a
still
cross between a kerfuffle and a cacophony?
Yes, that.
Excellent.
I thought he
tongue
made that
twister.
abundantly clear, Moritz.
Oh, sorry.
Ispan though through this period of time that lapses in the travels, has become more accommodating in sharing some information. She's growing a lot more meeker, but Van Dien and Elias are starting to think that she has sworn an capital oath because she tells of events of people's dead and plans past. Like she cannot speak of anything forward. There's a trend that they've picked up. So she's kind of out that there's something that will prohibit her from speaking the whole truth.
Yeah.
Nynaeve in Lan becomes a bit of an issue on this trip because girls and boys aren't allowed to shed tents because of financial constraints. Like bundle a lot of people into one room is the modus of operandi or the intents. And Nynaeve is not liking the fact, and it already occurred when they had their first bath at the manor house, that she can't be sleeping with her husband. So that gets her from pulling her braid a lot, also sneaking away to have hayloft sexy time when she does get the chance. And it seems that in their relationship or marriage now, she gets the outside the bedroom say, and Lan gets the inside the bedroom say, as per the explanations in the holy text.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Elaine has been keeping herself busy on this journey with prying and prodding at all the Ungreal, Terangreal, and table legs. I know we've already sorted that out. The table legs are gone because they were all male Sangreals that she couldn't test for. But she then lands her hand on a particular rod. I think it's crimson and red or something, ruby or I don't know, smooth, a little bit hot like fire. And then she starts to channel in it with spirit like she's now used to doing. And then she opens her eyes and it's the next morning. And she went a carousing and she cannot remember anything. Now, Nynaeve tells her you don't want to know. Avienda keeps a straight face that a first sister would. Like I'm in your shame with you. Birgitta can't hold her laugh. She's like, Birgitta can't hold a laugh. And then that sort of section ends at that shameful event, whatever that was. 9 days later, they are still traveling, except the only change now is that it's snowing and raining and cold and miserable. And they're halfway to their destination, and no one packed a blankie. So huge conundrum. Like, oh shit! Out of all of this, we've forgotten that winter is still a thing because it was winter, but it wasn't cold, so we didn't pack winter clothes. And everyone is blaming everyone, and everyone wants to take the blame. And then eventually, it's a collective joke that they're all willing to take the blame for this big mistake, which wasn't a mistake because they went and set out to change the weather back to the normal seasons. So didn't they expect it would work and get cold? But anyway, they accept the fact that they're all stuffed up and they need jackets. Now, jackets cost coin, and coin is not very lots of
Abundant?
Plentiful.
abundant. Coin is not very abundant.
Well,
At
it
the
is,
end of
but
then
you're not
pulls
getting
out
it out of Nynaeve's hands. That's the issue.
No. Like the master of coin is also the master of being stingy. But Avienda is the master of not being stingy and holds no value to a sack of diamonds that she has in
All
her
her
possession,
gems, yeah.
mixed with rubies and sapphires and moonstones. I think moonstones must be diamonds. But anyway, she then purchased all of the warm items in said town with a few of these things and would have given a handful if she wasn't stopped by Miralilla, I think, saying, whoa, doll, you're spending that coin too quickly. Put some away for later.
Do you remember where those gems
She
are
was
from?
then later. Yes, of course, I'm getting there. Don't come and dig into my chapter here.
Oh.
Avienda,
Wow.
then later Elaine asks her about the stones, and she's like, she's got she tried to buy back her toe from Althor, and then he double snaked her by giving back the gems and saying like, I don't need this, discard it, keep that, and the pommel and everything that was of glitter, and kept the blade of the gift. So she's all too happy to get rid of it because it's a reminder of St. Iglusex and Toe and everything that happened. Now, she doesn't tell, obviously, the Iglusex and the Toe part. And because she didn't, Elaine respected it and didn't ask any further. So we'll leave it at that. Time moves on and it's thick snow now, but luckily they upgraded to jackets. Renila now starts her demands that it's time to start the training. So this is the bad naive deal for education and information technology sharing, IP, the rest. So that starts and drives a lot of. But anyway, long story short, I don't even want to go through all these notes because all I see is Renila and I'm just no. She's an
I made
apprentice
notes
and
for
she's
this
being
part, but
treated. Yeah,
fuck
like
it.
she's being treated like Egwene was treated when she became an apprentice to the Ale. So it's just another society with another apprentice that gets treated like an apprentice. Let's move on.
So Renelle is treating Merilil like an apprentice, ordering her around,
Yes.
shooing her up the stairs,
Yes.
which she calls a ladder.
Get everything. Get up the ladder.
Yeah.
I don't know.
There's a lot
Willie,
of boat talk.
yeah, this the takeaway I got. Well, maybe I should let Willie finish, because
No,
we're
you go.
poking into his
No,
chapter.
go.
Oh, it's
go,
Moritz
please.
that's not allowed to poke into your chapter. The key takeaway
Yes.
I got from this was that the kin are watching all of this and going, these Aes Sedai are not all they're cracked up to be. Look at how
Yes.
these Windfinders are treating them.
Specifically,
Why are we
Elise,
cowering?
who's already like not one to shy away, and Sumiko, who we've seen a couple times now, sort of not back off as much. And Nynaeve is also chatting to them, saying, "You need to grow a backbone. You need to stand up to the Aes Sedai." And now they're seeing like Renelle is talking, and then Mary Lil sort of acquiesces as well. She's like, "Okay, I'll go." So
they are human after all.
Hey, and again, depends on the perspective that you look at. The Aes Sedai could look at Mary Little saying, what a good character of her to allow herself to be so meek, just to gain the knowledge
I
that
don't
they
think
have to
there's a
share.
single Aes Sedai that would say that.
No.
They would all be
No,
aghast.
I'm just like, I just like always batting for everyone. Like everyone has a little go and a little ability to be good.
Devil's advocate.
I know. Right. Past that, World of Dream time. It's been 16 days on the road. The bowl has been used, and the bargain Nynaeve made was discussed with Egwene at the last visit. It's been a while since they've been there. And just this is where we get briefed on the fact that that bargain was not well received by Egwene. She was pretty furious at Nynaeve's inability to bargain. We'll leave it at that. Nynaeve even apologized. Something you will never read in this book, I think, again. Then I get into the world of dreams, and there's no Egwene, but she channeled a message. So they've worked out a way to leave messages to a degree in the world of dreams, and it tells them to get to Caemlyn and stay out of trouble, like hang low, the pressure's on. And Elaine then leaves a sign for her saying 15, referring to about approximately the days that they have until they get there to Caemlyn. There is at this stage then a little bit of talk about Egwene's plan. So Egwene had put them into the plan, the secret plan. And that's where Elaine shuts Nynaeve up very quickly and says, look, a secret spoken, or she thinks, like, don't even let it out your mouth because a secret spoken takes wings. Another Linny saying. Many Linning sayings. And then 3 days later, the first explosion came. And that's where the chapter ends.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun.
I've not read ahead. I don't know what explosion they're talking about here. Is it
Me neither.
literal, figurative?
All of the ahead that I've done is still busy with Rand, so nothing's gotten back to them.
Okay.
Many explosions there, but unrelated to this one.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Yeah.
Villy, holy shit, man. You rang a lot out of this chapter. Way more than I would have.
Yeah, I had to find some good stuff. I mean, I could.
And you edited out some shit along the way. Like, I had more notes, but...
So, Joe, am I correct in guessing that you don't have an awful lot to add on that one?
No, but I did. I actually started doing notes for this chapter because I remembered incorrectly. So, but I only got like a few paragraphs in before I went, oh, wait. Let me just double check.
Let me double check because I'm not enjoying this at all. Is there a better chapter I could be making notes
No,
for?
I was thoroughly enjoying it. My only comment was on that Taishar Candor thing because I invented a whole little story in my own head about it. That's like what's happening with Brigitte is she's like all befuddled going, I'm sorry, what? When he says that. And he goes, oh, I'm sorry, I just assumed by the clothes that you were from Candor. And she's like, oh, okay, I thought you said Andor. No, you're right, Candor. That's fine. You're good. That's what happened in that situation. That's how she got out of it. And Lan was none the wiser. Did not suspect a thing. No.
Oh, Lan knows, man. He's just waiting for her to face up by herself.
Yeah. He respects people's boundaries and privacy.
He does.
Yes, we're talking about Lan here. We're not talking about one of the women or one of the. I shouldn't say that. Like that I mean that.
Yeah.
Ooh, easy
That
now.
bunch of women together there in that traveling companion is stuff going there. You don't want to be in that. You don't want to be like a random person sitting at that dinner table around there now.
With a leather
ever.
satchel in your head. No, that would be the worst.
One of them with a sack over their heads, a leather sack. Gimp mask.
Gimp. Yeah, it must look weird. These two Aes Sedai taking this gimp into a house every night, staying there alone all night.
If your eyes are completely, I've never tried this, so I don't know. But if you have a leather gimp sack over your head and your eyes are closed and you have to eat dinner, like, would you scoop up something and push it into like your cheek, or would you be like really accurate with a spoon into your mouth?
There's a very, very easy way for you to test this, Billy. Just close your eyes and try and take a bite of something. If you put a spoon of something into your cheek, we can't be friends anymore.
And don't they decide at this point as well, like she can travel now without the sack, like she'll behave herself because they do remove the sack, right?
No, I quite like the sack over her head, so I
can't
don't want to know
remember.
about that bit.
I think that's what
I
happens.
think
They're like,
she
"All right, you're gonna behave
carries
now."
she wears the sack
"Yes,
for
ma'am."
infinity.
She dies with the sack on her head of suffocation
I think
eventually.
she does die in the very near future. I think she does die.
Well, that's what you get.
Yeah. I didn't take an awful lot of notes for this chapter, but I got a couple little tidbits to rattle off here, as is my wont. The first being Lan is straight up chuckling at Nynaeve. Like old Stoneface. You know, this is a dude that doesn't, that in the past, I should say, not doesn't, but in the past has not shown any emotion. Here he's observing Nynaeve and he's sort of chuckling. So, like, I love that he is chuckling, and I love that Lan can chuckle at all. Like, it's not something you ever see
it's
him
a
do.
wife. It's his wife. He can chuckle at her. He can show emotion to that one part. Like,
Well,
he
he's-
doesn't have to show emotion to anyone else.
He's not showing emotion to Nynaeve. He's chuckling because he's observing her from a distance and chuckling. So it's not even like it's a private moment or anything, because she's busy fussing around and she's like getting all angry and tugging at her braid, and Lan is just off to the side chuckling, going, "Look at my wife. Look at her go."
Struggling, trying to take control. And Elise, again, what
Mm-hmm.
a super champ, man. She just has
You love
crisis
her.
mode control so much. Like,
It's like-
she did this is a nothing. Like, she remembers the 10 names of the 10 noble women, because they were
Uh-huh.
all the slowest. That was from the farm through the gateway last. And they were probably last because they were like, should we stay or should we go? And then at the end, they're like, no, we should probably go with them. They're the good guys. They're not throwing laser beams and rockets at us. And then they run through like the last 10, and now they got to scrap parts. So
I
like,
don't think they were planning on sticking around for the Seanchan that were actively attacking them at the time. I don't think.
No, but they are talking about
you
going
got to
back.
find
They're
a
Yeah,
reason
they-
why
they-
the
they wanna-
nobility were lost.
and they were like, yeah, go back. Fucking good luck with that. We'll stick around for a bit longer.
Elaine is pretty savvy. Like, when we read about her sort of interrogating questioning the locals as they move along, like what they're concerned about, I thought it was about more than just like what do they think of the Queen or Elaine, or it wasn't specifically about herself, but like what are their concerns? Like what are they worried about? She's already building up material for her campaign, specifically for when she makes her claim to the throne. She wants to be able to address what the commoners are actually concerned about most. And like Willie said, it seems to be a lot of the blame is laid at Rand's feet. So if she can come out with the message of, I can shield you from the machinations of the Dragon Reborn. I have a relationship with them. We can work together. You guys don't have to fear about it anymore. That's obviously a massive boon to her.
She's on the campaign trail, is she?
She is basically in a literal trail. Shaking everyone's hands, like hugging babies.
Kissing. Exactly.
There's another mention here of Nynaeve specifically trying to control her temper when around Lan. So I'm sticking with my theory that like when Lan is around, when she stops herself from tugging her braid and stuff.
And that's what Lan finds funny.
Yes, it is. Which is probably what's motivating
Look at
her
her struggling
to not do
struggling
it.
to control.
Fighting her very nature. And that thing you mentioned, Willie, about like the control from like the public facing person, whoever has control in those situations has to submit behind closed doors. That's specifically the Seafolk marriage ritual. Remember, they got married on a Seafolk ship. And we've seen evidence of the Seafolk captains and their sort of their cargo master / master of the blade or the sword, whatever their their husband situation is. They order them around, and one of them lets slip or hints later at like, or thinks maybe even in a monologue that when they're in private, he'll actually have something to say, but in public, she calls the shots. And it's cool to see just because they had the Seafolk wedding, they are now actually adhering to it, like Lan and Nynaeve. Far away from the Seafolk or anything, but that's what their wedding rites were, so that's what they are sticking to, which is cool.
Maybe this is the sole purpose of the Seafolk being in the story, is just so that there's a balance between Lan and Nynaeve.
Just to take Nynaeve down a peg or two, a bad deal. You're not the bee's knees, Nynaeve. Look at your bad deal and look how you have to listen to your husband. I mean, the Seafolk don't do much else, so that's not a bad theory, Will. 5 panniers full of objects of the One Power.
What is a pannier?
It's a shitload of panniers.
Panniers are like those leather bags that hang over the sides of the horse, or they could be baskets and stuff as well. Baskets can be panniers.
So a saddlebag. 5
They're
saddlebags?
bigger than that.
Or saddle baskets.
Yeah. But I mean, 5 of them, that's a lot. I mean, those objects some of them are a bit bigger, but a lot of them you can hold in one hand, right? So they have a lot of Ungreal with them, which is pretty cool. And then I took a note that I just love all the laughing, like Lan chuckling at Nynaeve when they're having the bath together. Will, you're talking about like they're sharing jokes and stuff. And then later,
it's a big joke sharing there.
when they're all talking about like it's, I think it's Merilil, Nynaeve, Elaine, and Rhiann Corley, like they're all standing in the middle of the town arguing about whose fault it is. Like they're all wanting to take blame for not bringing and then they all burst out laughing, which is cool because it's an Aes Sedai, it's Elaine and Nynaeve and a kinswoman, and just in that, notably, no Seafolk around, no Seafolk laughing, no lols from those ladies.
No, they don't have any lols.
No, they don't. But at least there's like multiple instances of people laughing, which again,
there's
juxtaposed with the other
chuckling.
chapters in this stretch is a welcome reprieve from the fucking hardcore heaviness.
No, there's a lot of lolling from Bagheet.
Okay, so that's it for this little interstitial chapter between Egwene's saga, and now we move on to Rand's saga in chapter 21 called Answering the Summons. Joe, will you answer the summons to provide a recap, please?
I shall. If that
Thanks.
is what you want.
I
I don't know.
really,
what
really
people-
appreciate it.
Everyone listening, I don't know if that's what they want me to do, but that's what you're getting.
Okay,
So-
here we go.
The weather is really, really shitty in the south. Like, it's the worst. I think they call these storms Camaros. It's got something to do with fast cars. That's how it is. It's like noisy and just loud, or whatever they call. I can't remember what these storms are called. I've written it somewhere.
Tomorrow, or something like that,
But yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's crazy storms, basically. Hectic winds, sleeting rain, but no snow. That's only in Caemlyn, where Rand's Asha'man reinforcements are coming from. And when they open the gateways to him, you can see through and you can see the snow falling at the background. I wonder if he's going, I wish it was snowing rather than this shit. But you said in your intro, like, everything is wet, but the Asha'man are not wet because they are channeling constantly, and they have this super cool weave that makes like a 1 centimeter, barrier around them that the rain kind of slides off them.
Yeah.
I thought was fucking super cool.
It is sweet, yeah.
That's very, very cool. So
It's
they
like
are
the
not
condom
wet.
weave.
That is exactly what it's called. So there are 8 dedicated and 40 soldiers, led by Captain Cunt himself, Charles Gedwin, or as he has termed himself, the Tsora van Michael, or Storm Leader. And his second in command is Sergeant Shithead, Manel Roshahid. He is called himself the Bajan Michael, which is the attack leader. So Rand thinks those names are dumb. He's like, what is fucking Taim doing with all these new titles? But I think these names are rad. They are unfortunately assigned to terrible humans, but they sound very cool. So like I say, these two are clearly dark friends. But Rand thinks, like, hey, they're Asha'man. So like, dickhead is their just default personality, so you can't really tell.
So-
they're weapons and they're arrogant and
Gedwin is the one that almost kills Gowan at Dumai's Wells when Rand tells him to stop and let him go, and then Gedwin almost attacks Rand, and Taim stops him.
that guy.
That guy. And Rokaid, or Roshaid, is the guy that picks up Torval when Rand goes to the farm, and Torval sort of sneers at Rand and sort of challenges him. And Taim knocks Torval out with a mace of air. Rokaid is the guy that comes and picks him up and carries him off. All deep
Little bit
in
of
Taim's
history.
pockets. Yeah.
Yes, that is clear from the start. All right, so Luz is back, and rightly screaming to Rand like, kill them all. So, it's good to have old Luz back. Not for Rand though.
No.
Rand starts giving orders that no one understands, and he's like, well, fuck you. You don't have to understand my orders. You just have to follow them, because he doesn't want anyone to know what he's doing. Because anything he says, there's a fucking million spies around him. They're gonna report everything to people he doesn't want them to report it to. So I will just tell you what I want you to do, and you do it, and that's the end of it. But his plan is basically to keep everyone that he cannot trust super close to him. All his enemies are like, you stand right here next to me. Oh, and Wyramon, because he's a fucking idiot, and you can't let him be anywhere that he's not under eyes, Yeah. But also a dark friend, so he's stupid and a dark friend. So he's also got these 2 noble women that he's keeping close to him at all times. Ailil Rioton. Remember that surname, Rioton? You may know that family. Kyrinian she is, and Anayela Narasalona, who's a Terran.
Too many I's and too many L's in that name.
There's so many L's. And she's a Terran and a dark friend as well, FYI. And just remember these 2 for later. Ailil and Anayela. I'm going to try that again. Anayela. That's it.
Anayela.
You get it. So, the only one that isn't there, that Rand really wants to be there, is Narishma. You recall, he was sent off to go pick up a certain package and bring it back. So Rand is super impatient waiting for him. So Rand makes a gateway to stop by Illian. So they're just cruising all over the place now, picking up supplies and people and troops and things. And so they're going to Illian to pick up 1,000 Legion of the Dragon. Should be enough for what his purposes are, with the intent to push the Seanchan west. I wrote here, go back to the shadows. That's a cool line. And make camp while he waits for Narishma. So when they get in there, this is when like it's pissing rain, and this is where you see the condom weaves in action and all of that. So they say, okay, we're making camp here for the night. Everybody set up tents because I'm waiting for something. I'm expecting a delivery. So he's having a really hard time with Sidene. Lots of dizziness and nausea, and like he's clinging. He's barely holding on. He's like by his fingernails with Sidene. Now, this is important. Is this got something to do with the weirdness, or is this something to do with Rand?
I think it's just
like
a Rand thing.
Just a Rand thing, because the other Asha'man don't seem to be having this issue, but he is having a really hard time with the one power. So
I wonder if it's got something to do with Moradin. Like
the other Asha'man has also got something to, like they've been mentioning that their gateways is not that big.
But they're not feeling nausea and dizziness.
They're not falling over and vomiting like Rand is. Rand is like having dizzy spells.
But Rand can channel so much of it. That's why he's like he gets more of the weirdness, so he gets weirder.
I don't know.
No,
it's like Rand, more alcohol.
Rand has been getting dizziness from channeling ever since he crossed the Balefire streams with Moradin. Like he's been having, and the effects are getting worse and worse. And that's before the Bowl of Winds was used. I think it's there's a distinct difference here. Like I mean, the Asha'man he's asking Flynn and those guys to like create gateways. Narishma is very powerful in the one power. I think Flynn is also leveled up. They mentioned it here. Like Flynn also eventually gets like super, super powerful. So it's not like Rand is by orders of magnitude more powerful than these guys. It's Rand is just embracing Sidene, right? Like he's not even channeling it. So it's like not like he's got like huge amounts of the power flowing through. It's just him actually embracing Sidene that sends him to the point where, and Joe, you're going to get to this now, where he can't like embrace the source where people can see him, because he'll fall out of his saddle or like just fall over and vomit and stuff. I think it's different from the weirdness.
I think so too. All right. He's also gathered some of those rebels from the woods, remember? Those guys? Yeah, a lot of them took the offer to go home unarmed, but thousands of them stayed. And they led by that insolent dude with the runny nose, Egan Padros, who Rand actually thinks to himself, like, this guy's a good leader. Like, he has some potential. I'll keep an eye on him. Should have kept a better eye on him, Rand.
Yes.
But we'll see.
Dun, dun, dun.
Spoilers. Rand thinks, like, I'll be busy down here for around like 3 days. Like, I'm this plan that I have of going into these mountains and these forests to like push the Seanchan back. About 3 days and I'll be done. Like, chuff chuff. And then I'll head up to Caemlyn, and I'll check on those Seafolk and see what how that deal's working out. See what's happening with the Aes Sedai there. Then maybe I'll deal with that rebellion in Tyr. We don't like them. Then Elaine and Andor, got to go, sort that shit out. Then maybe I'll go cleanse the source. So, busy couple of weeks coming up for him, His schedule's filling up. Yeah. Like, the last thought is, like, cleanse the source. I wonder if I can even cleanse the source.
I should talk to Nynaeve about it.
We'll figure it out. Yeah. I'll sort it out. So, later on, after all this thinking, he's got a lot on his mind. Rand is chilling in his tent during one of those... here it is. Semaros storms. That's what they're called. But they will from now on be Chimeros. When in comes Narishma. Oh, where the fuck have you been? He's like, Narishma's like, dude, you almost killed me. You're like, you didn't tell me everything about those traps. And Rand's like, yeah, sure I did. Didn't I? Pretty sure I did. I'm pretty sure I told you everything. So he's like, anyway, give me what you brought. And then Rand takes it and hides it under his pillow because, infallible hiding place. No one's going to find it there. And tells Narishma, like, you tell anybody about this and I will kill you. And Luz therein chimes in with, kill the whole world. Whoa.
No, Luz, no.
Take it easy. Just Narishma. But Luz is losing it. He's losing it. So, okay, everything I need is here. So, like, Rand's like, sweet. Okay. Everybody here I've got what I want. Narishma's back. He brought what I wanted. Let's go get the rest of the shit. So he orders the Shiva to open a gateway. Because like you said, Moritz is not going to chance it in front of it, because all of these arrogant bastards, especially the Gedwin and his and Rokhayed, whatever his name is, are eyeballing him constantly. And like when he orders the Shiva to open the gateway, Rand's like, he looked like he was offended by the order.
Yeah.
He was offended by the order.
Yes.
Fucking tell me what to do. Open your own damn gateways. So he's not too keen on embracing Saidin, like we said. But off they go to Marundi to go meet up with the rest of the reinforcements he's summoned. So I don't know when all of this happened. I suppose he's been sending his Asha'man to go and, with gateways to go and like prep things for him.
Maybe.
Yeah. So eventually they all arrive, including good old Bashir and his Saldan cavalry are there. So it's like, hey, Bashir's back. It's good to see him. Those mustaches are sorely missed. He's a bit concerned with the people that Rand has decided to bring with. And he's like, these people can't be trusted, right? The Rand says like, hey, people are going to die. Like a lot of people are going to die. They're going to pay the butcher's bill today, as he says. So it's better these assholes than the ones I like and trust. So
100%.
Bashir's like, well, okay, that makes sense, but this
Pretty
is
rough,
definitely
but-
going to come back to bite us in the ass. Sounds like a good plan on paper, but we'll see. So and that's the end of the chapter. You see how I do chapters, Willie? Blam. Just the points.
You don't want to talk about the leather sacks over their heads or anything.
No.
Well, that leather sack,
give it-
there's a lot to talk about regarding that leather sack. The
It's a
holes,
metaphor
like-
for the
no, it's
oppression
not a
of
metaphor.
powerful
it's
women
a
in society.
metaphor.
That camp that they set up,
Yeah.
where Rand's waiting for everyone to arrive as they're sort of like grouping up to head into the mountains. It's on the Silver Road, right? It's the road that leads to Lugard from Illian.
From Illian, yes.
It's described as like basically like a marshland.
Mm.
And that Illian doesn't even require walls, because you can't like just march an army through the marshes,
Yeah.
because it would be... That's where they're camping? So what are they like, setting up on the road?
In the rain.
In the road? Yeah, exactly. Like, are they just in the road, in the street, like in a long line? Is it a long, narrow camp? Because it sounds like a...
No, because there is a mention of the Asha'man camp where they use the power to flatten all the marshlands and squeeze it compact
That's
so that
nice.
they can set up tents on it.
That's nice for the guys that can channel.
Yeah. For those 42 guys.
Yeah. Everyone else is just sitting in the mud.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a rough spot.
Exactly.
Um,
It's like, this marshland in the rain. Brilliant spot for a camp. Set up,
yeah,
everyone.
let's gather here.
Yeah.
And that Legion of the Dragon, those crossbowmen, are the guys that Matt and Bashir trained together, or Matt gave Bashir the idea. Remember, we were like why did he train all these crossbowmen to go into Illian? These are those guys, which is pretty cool.
The Legion of the Dragon.
Yes.
Notably absent are 100,000 Aiel.
Mhm.
We don't even mention them. Those maidens must be pissed. I was thinking.
Yeah.
Well, the maidens
That's-
will be pissed if they don't get to go and Rand takes other or societies of Aiel.
I don't.
But in this
I don't think
instance,
so. I
there's
think they
no
just pissed. No, there's nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Just Asha'man.
And it's a noticeable absence. Yeah, because Rand's like, listen, the Asha'man can deal with this. Like, I really don't even need these other guys, but I want to be like surgically striking with the one power.
Rand doesn't have anyone around him that we feel is equipped to like emotionally regulate him. Like none of our safe, like Davram Bashir. Okay, cool. When he gets there, you feel like a little bit better, like because Rand, he's talking to Narishma and other Asha'man that we like as readers quite badly. Like, where have you been? And if you tell anyone, I will kill you. And it's like, fuck, dude, this dude just did you a huge solid. You almost killed him by sending him off to go get this thing that you trapped. Like, so that
And then he gave him the first page of
forsaken-
instructions.
Yes.
on how to disarm it.
So you're right.
Yeah.
Like, I think I recall like the darkness around this book in particular, with the cover, them marching around, like in the mountains and stuff, and fighting the Seanchan, is on full display here. It's like it's the vibe here. This ambiance is what I associate with the entire book of The Path of Daggers. And it's grim, like it's Rand is not in a good space. I mean,
No.
Last time we saw Rand in a really, really bad spot was remember when he felt like he had come on to Min, and he had sort of forced himself on her, and he was in his depression in Kyrian, and she came over to tell him about Herod Fell and Colavir and all that stuff happened.
Oh.
Rand wasn't a bad, and then he lightened up again after he and Min hooked up, and he realized he wasn't just a horny old goat, and he sort of came out of his skin, and that's when he went to go fight Samael, and he took her to, or first they went to the rebel camp, and he was doing like the sword fighting with Ryoton, and then he went to go fight Samael. But now Min isn't around, like you said, the maidens aren't around. Davram Bashir's only just showed up, and Rand is barely keeping himself in check for Bashir, and he's shitting all over all the Asha'man. Like, Rand is just in a bad spot. He's being a total jerk, and it's just not fun to read. So yeah, this is more doom and gloom, and just making this book in general feel kind of icky.
Yeah, it's rain and mud,
If you-
and soon to be death and blood, and just
If you want to liken it to a Game of Thrones character at the moment, Rand is now the older Baratheon brother, but
Stannis.
burning his children. Stannis. Yeah, he's burning his children and
burning
wives.
children.
Like, just fucking going off the deep end.
But luckily, like, some of Rand's anger and stuff is directed at the likes of Gedwin and Rokade and stuff. Like, at one point when Gedwin says something to Rand, he says to him, "I expect you to obey, Gedwin, and I don't expect you to waste time questioning my orders." And his response to that is just, "As you command, my Lord Dragon." And then Rand wondered whether the man suspected how close he had come to dying when he seized Sidon without warning. Like, Rand is ready to kill everyone around him.
Well, he's got Luz in him that tells him, kill them all.
He's
They're
under
danger.
instruction
Like,
constantly.
just like every single time they're around there, he's under the complete mad instruction in his head to kill these things that surround
Totally.
him. So
Yeah.
there's no trust
and
there.
all the nausea and vomiting.
Oh, yeah, he's
Yeah.
permanently sick,
A whole,
surrounded by
bad
jerk
times.
nobles. Rand thinks of Wiramon. It's almost a pity Wiramon wasn't stupid enough to do something to get himself executed. Actually, he is stupid enough because he's a dark friend, and that is an offense punishable by death. So just stick around, Rand. What else have I got here? The channeling sickness is suddenly really bad. Rand is vulnerable exactly when he can't be seen as vulnerable by his Asha'man. So, like, yeah, just really, really shitty. Lord Torian is one of the Terran High Lords that shows up. 10 podcast points for anyone that remembers Lord Torian.
Corian,
Stone of
that
Tear.
name stood out. Yeah, he's someone's
Dad?
sister. Is in the
He's
party.
not someone's
with...
sister. No.
No, but Torian's sister is in the party there with
No,
Rand.
that's Torum Ryanton's
Torum
sister.
Ryoton's sister, Aelil Ryoton.
Yeah.
Torian, Lord Torian, is one of the High Lords of Tyr, you're right, Joe, from who we saw in the Stone of Tyr, pulling on Berelane's arm and, like, trying to convince her of something when Perrin spies them in the hallways of the Stone of Tyr. They keep saying, like, he's got a really unattractive face, like a big potato nose and stuff. He's got a son called Estian, who was playing cards with Matt, and Estian was the really drunk one that was making all these off-color comments about finding, would you rather have sex with a farmer's daughter or a fisherman's daughter, because the fisherman's daughter would smell too bad, like, just talking about having his way with commoners. And then High Lord Torian here makes the same sort of jokes. He's talking about finding a willing farmer's daughter or something and having his way with her. Like, it runs in the family.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just a big old rich jerkwad. But that's it for this short little chapter. Let's move along then to chapter 22 called Gathering Clouds. Let's all gather for Villy's summary.
What a segue. Everyone gather round. We in the point of view of the madman Rand. And he's got an army of 6,000 men. That's the last thing you want with a madman. Included in that 6,000 men is a bunch of magic men, the Asha'man, 8 dedicated, and some soldiers. And then, of course, some nobles that's carting along. Rand now has Calandor. There's a big moment there. It's under his saddle, like hidden away. Can the horse channel with Calandor if the horse was magical?
If it were magical, yes.
How about
Well,
a tree?
horses channel a
How about a
different power.
bird? I mean,
This is a long list. Now, old mate Wyramon, he's still there, and he's kind of upset that he's been put into the left flank. And he's also deterred and upset about the fact that they are going into the mountains, and mountain passes aren't conducive to the charge. And
Yeah.
he's always just thinking about the charge.
always.
But Rand shuts him down, like backhand slap. Rand deals with Wyraman the same way he deals with everyone around him at the moment. It's raining, it's miserable, and it's muddy, and they're stuck. They're in a swamp, life shit. Rand has a lot of frustration with his nobles because he wants to move now. They've assembled everywhere and everyone. They're basically getting this army into file and rank, but the nobles are literally like fucking around on their horses on the fringes and not getting into place to move. This is where Ale Little
Mhm.
Little
Mhm.
Little
Isle.
Little
Mm-hmm.
then mentions to Rand, or sort of approaches Rand. It's like, oh, I've been told by my master of battle or whatever the hell that war is such a bad thing, and should it really be where women should go? And mentions that they have heard that Rand and his care of women, which sends Rand into a death spiral of paranoia about what have they heard and what do they know, and is it about the care or the murder or the death of woman? And it's probably in the background of Rand's head right now. Luz is shouting Elena, and all chaos.
Elena.
Elena. Anyway, he then offers them and says, "Oh well, what? Look, I can spare an Asha'man to open a gateway and take you to the Black Tower. You could stay there with the rest of them." Uh, did not like that idea. They'd rather go into war. So
Yes.
that says a lot. Then Rand gives the command to begin. The dedicated all roll forward and they make 8 gateways. These gateways are made to Altara. Luz goes off to kill them all. They do anytime they touch the power, it's like the same time a little button that goes off like a buzzer in Rand's head, like kill them all. Beep, 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 beep. Anyway, Rand starts to think that he has caught the thing called the dreads. Is a sickness, but
Heebie-jeebies.
it's just severe paranoia has grabbed him. But through the gateway they go, and they need to move fast. So the people that get out on the other side already established sort of perimeter, got to make safe and all of that. Luckily, they landed somewhere that is not riddled with Seanchan channelers that can zap them to death. And when Rand gets to the other side, he appreciates that they landed in a good spot and also feels cold, realizing the risk that he has taken. They eventually, armies through the gateway, they now start moving. As the armies landed, of course, Rand sent out Asha'man to zap gateways forward and locate the enemy. So there's a lot of gateway action in this chapter. They Bashir riding with Rand now. They move past a massive ancient statue, and Bashir starts talking to Rand about the statue and the what's it, the Shoita, and there'll probably been some hero, holding a sword, and eventually points the story, a long story, into the direction of Rand placing himself in a lot of danger, which kind of is a Shanaran taking a long story around to Rand.
Saldean.
Sorry, Saldaean.
They're all the same.
Like he's
Borderlanders.
literally, I want to say, like pussyfooting around the topic of Rand's instability at the moment. So it's, I think I always want to draw the comparison. Like he is taking a real caution at how he is dealing with Rand at the moment, perhaps.
I think he's being somewhat cautious, but if anything, I would say he's being quite bold because he is actually trying to say something to Rand. Like
Mm.
he's trying to caution him to like just watch what you're doing.
Boldly cautious, I suppose.
I mean, Bashir's got this whole air about him, right? Like he is often just like at ease when he should be, deferential and stuff, sitting in chairs with his leg over the arm and always like drinking punch or wine or something. Like he is, at least, I mean, he's one of the great generals, obviously a brave soldier and everything, but even socially, he is quite bold.
Mm. No, but I mean, it more such a standout. Like, I think more an explanation into Rand's complete mood and mindset at that moment. But alas, let's not go too far with this moment of let's touch base with where we are. And truth strikes, and Rand sees an arrow drawn at him and moves at the last minute. And there's quail and there's little lucks that fall in the right way, and the arrow doesn't strike home. But at the same time, who tries to murder Rand in front of a bunch of Asha'man, and fireballs go in the direction of said arrow shooting assassin. And one takes off his leg, and the other one lands home chest hit.
Mm-hmm.
Just a perfectly clean blow through the main part of the body bits. So it's
The most
tough
important
luck
part.
for old Pedro, the scoundrel.
Pedro,
Was
Egan.
Yeah. Anyway, Rand spews at this moment, like he lost control of the void. He's violently ill. The attackers, as I said, fireballed already. And he questions, okay, why, Pedro? Why, Pedro? Why did you do this?
Meanwhile,
Now-
Rand's fallen out of his saddle. He's on the
Saddle,
ground.
he's
The arrow
spewed.
hit, but it hit him in the shoulder.
Well, did it hit
No.
him? Sorry,
Didn't
I
it
don't
hit
think-
him?
No, it didn't hit
It
him.
hits him later. There's another arrow.
There's
one does hit him.
another, not
In
now.
my chapter.
Oh, sorry.
Yes, yes. This is him. Just his luck in being spewy and
So the
sicky
Seanchan
made him
attack that he gets.
fall out. Yes,
Okay.
yes. Then he gets hit. So
Okay.
this one, he just falls. Rand just falls out of his saddle and
Does he?
on the floor in his vomit.
And spews.
I mean,
Okay.
and spews.
Lands in his pool of vomit. Yes.
Yes.
Very
So
lordly.
it's not a good look. He looks like a drunk. He looks like Arthur Morgan after the Lenny night, trying to take a horse home. All right, so they search old Pedro's body and they found 30 Tarvalon crowns in his money sack, which they immediately take as proof that it was the White Tower. But then at the same time, Bashir brings some level-headedness and says, well, I've got 5 in my pocket, so let's have that logic. You can't assume.
Yeah, that's the thing with money. It changes hands and moves
Yes,
around.
a lot.
Yeah.
It's the purpose. The gateway then flashes open, and then a man is back with the news that they found the Seanchan, and then the decision is made just to leave Pedro's body there. Like, no honor for the traitor.
No. Fuck
Then
that
we
guy.
change point of views in this chapter, and we're with Asid Baku, who is
Yes,
the
him.
commander of the Forerunner armies of the Seanchan. Now, look, we don't have to delve into much detail, so I will. He's the commander of the Forerunner of the ever victorious army, and he's commanding Mary Tara boners, who aren't as army ready as he'd like them to be and army savvy. He thinks a bit about his wolfhound Nips that's back home, and he kind of likens the Damani at that point to having a pet and a wolfhound as he strokes one of their heads and asks the what is their names? The Suldam.
Suldam.
About how the Damani is, because evidently the sickness or the weirdness has hit them as well. So, and they have been very close to the area of the Bowl of the Winds, so it's a spillover effect across all of the channelers.
Is it him that strokes
Then,
the Damani's head or the Suldam? I think it's the Suldam.
Yes, but he's thinking to himself, like, he would also stroke his wolfhound's head, but he wasn't trying to have a conversation with it.
Yeah.
Like they are having it, yeah.
But I mean, Nips is a nice wolfhound. I mean,
Old
he probably
nipples,
sat down at the fire, drinking some whiskeys, talking to Nips. Like, it's a
Yeah.
good chase today on the rabbit there, Nips. Anyway, let's get off Nips, and we carry on.
Get off my nips.
Yeah, with Bakun, who is now upset because one of the flyboys. So whenever you have an army, you've got Windgat people in usually in the Air Force, and they go by the name of Maverick and what's the other dude's name?
Goose.
Maverick and Chip. Goose. Chip.
Goose.
And they all have a little chip on their shoulder. And Flyboy flies by the post and maneuvering his Raken so that he can drop a message at the message pole and delivers a report. That there's forces 10 miles to the east, and it's a big force, 5 or 6 times bigger. So, of course, he takes the news from Flyboy as, okay, he's being dramatic because he's a Flyboy, and it's probably a little less, but that is still a big force. That's a lot bigger than he has with him. But he's full of hubris because he has magic, and they don't. He gets warned by his assistant Tria that, hey, what if they have magic too? And he's like, wahaha, I don't think they've got magic with them. Hubris goes into battle. He uploads a message to the message pole. There's a whole system that they have to spend message. I'll just call it the message pole, and he uploads it. And Flyboy
named.
comes down, does a little bank of the wing, and snatches up said message from the red ribbon, and then gets his orders, I suppose, that way. And then the command is to move forth and go to battle, and that's the end of that chapter.
Shit's happening
There
now.
you go.
Battles happening.
Yeah. Joe, anything you want to throw in?
I did, but I've now totally lost what it was.
There's a
Anyway, continue.
There's a mention here of Semirog, because it Rand thinking to himself, like right now, like the way that he feels like Semirog could attack him and he'll take care of her as well. Or he'd make her weep, and then Luz responds with, nothing makes Semirog weep.
Nothing
She
makes
gives
Semirog
tears to others, but she has none herself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Very nice little line that.
Rand also feels like he wonders if any of these nobles know that he was actually planning on doing all of this himself. Like he's actually thought
Just with Calandor.
just him and Calandor in the mountains, man alone, fucking up the Seanchan. Just Rand, cool it, dude. Relax. Relax. Not all on you.
Yeah, but I understand that feeling, you know?
Yes, of
It's
course.
just like, fuck it, I'll just deal with it myself.
I do it at work every day. Create a rod for my own back. Taking on too much just because it would take longer to explain to someone else how to do it. And then they do it half as well.
Yeah.
When Lady Ailil wants to excuse herself from battle, Rand goes, okay, that's fine. I can send you back to the Black Tower with some Asha'man and they'll look after you. You'll be safe. She's like, no, it's fine. I'll stay here. It's fine. It's okay. One of the Asha'man looked vaguely familiar to Rand. A grizzled fellow with a pointed Terran beard that looked weird on his wrinkled countryman face. It's like, who is this dude? Why would Robert Jordan be telling me that there's a Terran? So I thought maybe it's like an expelled lord from Ter that Rand had maybe chased away, and then he joined the Black Tower since then or something. But no, he's a guy by the name of Donalo Sandomir, one of the strongest Asha'man, loyal to Rand and Logain, but forcibly turned to the shadow during the last battle. Sucks, yeah.
Shame.
He looks familiar to Rand, not because Rand, expelled him from a court or anything like that, but he was at the farm when Rand pins Taim the first time, when he brings all the pins there the first time. And this guy also fought at Dumais Wells. Now, some people speculate that this is Robert Jordan sort of writing Brandon Sanderson's name into the story. So like Donalo would be Don, Brandon, Sand, Omir. So there's an element of Brandon Sanderson's first and second name in there, but I don't think that's true. I think people have since then discounted that because
I think
I don't
that is
think.
when people start looking for code to support
Yes,
what they want.
and I don't think they
things to
started
be.
talking
There's
to
a
each
word
other
for that.
until Brandon Sanderson got or until Robert Jordan got sick. He got amyloidosis, and Brandon was picked to finish the series. I think that's when they started speaking.
That was around book 11.
Well, it was before that.
No, he
might have.
he wrote some of the books while he was sick, but not all of them. So,
Yeah.
Right, what else did I have here? We've already touched on the fact that the guy that tries to kill Rand and gets fireballed is that dude that was standing in the road leading the Illian troops. So he came along, pretended to be part of the whole deal, and then in the middle of battle just decided to step out of the bushes and fire an arrow at the Dragon Reborn. I mean, like you said, there's like a bunch of Asha'man around. That's like death by police, like when people...
Yeah, like it's really
suicide.
weird because he was with him earlier, within stabbing range.
Yeah.
So why didn't you just stab him then, or take the risk of shooting an arrow anyway? Maybe he was converted at a different stage.
Maybe. Well, he does have all this gold in his pocket, so maybe since then someone has come and paid him.
I remember what I wanted to say from this chapter. When Rand is spewing his guts everywhere, there's a little scene where Bashir takes out his handkerchief and kind of like hands
Little
it to him
white
backhanded
hanky.
without looking, like discreetly. Here we go. Wipe your mouth.
Yeah, just wipe.
The Asha'man are watching.
Clean yourself up.
People are looking at us.
I had a bit of a chuckle at the Taraboners. Like in Tarabon, they all wear veils over their faces, and here the soldiers still wear veils, but they're male. Like it's an armored veil.
Yeah.
They still have veils.
Yeah.
Jeez, these guys love a veil. And then there's a lot of mention here about the channelers talking about this weirdness. Seems like all the Damane in Ebou Dar felt sick, and the Sul'dam was sort of tight-lipped about it. And this is why this Seanchan commander is sort of asking them, like, how is the Damane? Like, are you guys ready for battle? Like, are they going to freak out again? But yeah, and I mean, here they're not near Ebou Dar, right? Like, I mean, they're in the mountains between Illian and Ebou Dar. So yeah, it's stretched quite far. When I did the research on the weirdness originally, apparently there is weirdness both at the site where it was used, and there was there were major sort of arteries and spokes, because it creates this big web weave over the sky, right? Some of them are thicker than others, and where the main arteries went, the weirdness can be felt all along those. So obviously some of them went over here. But yeah, let's move ahead into the climax of this episode, which is chapter 23, called Fog of War, Storm of Battle. Let's storm straight into it, Jody.
Nice. What a cool title for a chapter. I dig it. It's cool. Fog of War, Storm Battle. The next one, if you read ahead, is called Time for Iron. And I was like, oh boy, I want to read that so badly.
Yes.
It's coming. So, Willie, that battle that Asid Bakun was expecting, it's over. He dead. You're like, oh, here comes the battle. No, it's done.
Yeah.
It happened between these two chapters, along with
it's
all the other
the
Seanchan
hardest
in that
part
camp.
of like doing a summary of someone, and it's just useless. I feel there's been a lot of this of late.
We just got to know Asid, and now Asid's gone, and all his soldiers are gone. His camp is gone. Everything's gone. More of Rand's troops are dead than he was expecting as well. Like, he's got nearly 50 dead. One of those is a soldier. Like, anytime I say soldier, it's capital S.
Yes.
Also, Anayela's master of the horse is also dead. She's pretty torn up about this. Rand thinks that, you can get another master of the horse. But apparently they had a little thing going on the side, which was very proper. But, hey, man, you love who you love. And Aracombe is also dead, as per Min's viewing. So Rand, not surprised.
Yep.
So, sorry, dude. Saw this coming, but he is like, oh, shame, Aracombe died horribly, and Min saw that shit, so he's sorry for her having to see all this horrible shit.
Yeah.
Lots of wounded as well, including Flynn, which means he can't be healing as well as he should be, because he's the best one there for healing. All the other Asha'man can do it, but they're really shit at it. But had they not been healing, there'd be closer to 200 dead.
Yeah.
So Rand's plan is not that great. Like, he was expecting to just waltz in there and take over, but that is not happening. All right, so lots of dead. Everyone's pissed. There's blood everywhere. It's not going well. Bashir's men have around 100 captives, including one Suldam, Nerith, and she's named. So I went, ooh, and I went to look up Nerith, and the summary of her is she gets captured here. That's it. That doesn't do anything else.
No.
That's the one that Bakun was talking to earlier that was stroking
yes.
her
Maybe
Demane's head.
That's her purpose, is to link that with the scene.
That's the only purpose she has. But she's dead, and so is her Demane, Gilly, whose name makes it onto Rand's list for some reason. Rand is like, fuck, whatever. Just join the queue of
Rand's even adding enemies to his woman in death list now. It's like, it's actually pathetic. Ridiculous. I'm sorry, I just don't do like. You don't mourn the death of your enemy. I mean, this is fantasy books, and we can be quite hard about this stage. Seanchan, fuck them, like Damani as well. Remember how we felt about Egwene?
But
remember Egwene?
But look,
remember the collar?
But listen, Damane are different. Like, he pities them. They are captured. They are subjugated, so
coerced, brainwashed.
It's different.
They're innocent.
That's what he thinks as well. Yeah, they're innocents to him. Also, Ilyena's name has been on that list for quite a while, and Rand thinks, well, that makes sense. Luz, you can put a name on my list too. Rand orders them to hand her over, Nerith, that is, to the Aes Sedai, and she loses her shit.
Yeah.
And it takes 4 men to overpower her. At one point, she's bitten into the hand of one of Bashir's men, and is like hanging on like a badger or something. Like, she can't channel. Well, she can, but she doesn't know it. But she's just bitey. She's like dangling off a soldier's hand. So Rand orders from then on, like, all women who are going to be captured are to be brought to him. Like, no killing of the women. You capture them and you bring them to me. There is much protesting by Willie and also Wyramon about this. It's like, what the fuck? Just killed him. And he's like, nope. You will just do as I say and bring me all the women you capture. End of it. Shut up. One of the scouts returns at that point to report that they have found the next group of Seanchan. So it's off to battle then. Tally-ho. And off they go. So we join again to another Seanchan point of view with Furyk Kader. He's a Death Watch Guard general. He's up there. His
name is Furyk Gader.
Furyk Gader. He's up there. Like, he is, to be respected. He's got some other generals with him, but he's still, like, because he's Death Watch Guard, they report directly to, what's her name? Tuon. What is she called? The Empress. May she die soon.
Forever.
I brought a bad juju on myself. He's got around 2,300 troops with him under his command. Most of them are Altarans and Amedicians, though. He's like, yeah, they're fine, but they're not Seanchan. He's, not only a slave owner, but he's also prejudiced. So he's not a nice guy. He's got 12 Suldam with him, which he thinks is cool, but unfortunately they only have 2 Damane with them. I imagine it's because all of these Damane are sick.
Maybe.
Like, it must be because of that. Like, there's some of them have been sent back to go to hospital or doctor's appointments or something.
Maybe because, like,
so he's only got 2 of them.
Elaine and the other women who also experience some of the weirdness and stuff, like, they aren't sick. So it's weird.
But they also a lot further away, and maybe
That's
not
true.
in the spoke, because it's not you're a channeler, you're sick. It is you're a channeler and you are in that area. You're feeling it
radius.
heavily.
Yeah. Right. Also, maybe there's only 2 Damane left because Avienda killed them all through that gateway with the fireballs. So, like, a lot died recently. So, yeah, they're probably low on numbers. Death and sickness has taken quite a few of them. So, anyway, Furyk is there inspecting the surroundings, staring off into the distance all stoically, wondering how these local Altarans got into the mountains in such numbers undetected. Like, where are all these fucking enemies coming from, and how haven't I seen them coming? He's totally baffled. he's not aware of this whole traveling gateway scenario. So he's also got his own Wairoman with him, I thought. Jadranka, who he stabs in the throat almost immediately after we meet him, after we introduce. He gave some dumb orders to some scouts that got him killed. Like, Furyk just turns around and stabs him, like, while they're sitting on the horses.
In the throat.
Like, just like, I'm done with you, bro. That was a dumb order. He's been telling the scouts to just push through until they find more and more enemies. Just keep going. Like, don't report back. Like, fuck, dude. I'm trying to win battles here. You dead. I
Also,
don't have time for your shit.
He makes a minor point, like this guy is telling the scouts what to look for, and the better order is go scout. You know, don't poison, don't plant in their mind a specific.
Don't tell him what
because
he
then
should
they're going to tune
find.
other things out. Exactly. Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool.
It's
Right.
it is such a for me, this section was just beautiful because it had relevance to the frustration of life and in everyday
Futility of it
dealing
all.
with people.
Really just thinking, I wish I could stab all these people in my life in the throat. Just
No,
get it
no,
over with.
it's perhaps I'm the one that's getting stabbed for my stupidity.
You're the stabbee.
Maybe I'm the victim in all of this, but it was really
Self-doubt, man.
I enjoyed that. Sorry, I'll let you continue. We'll get back to this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you
There's more.
can have some comments later. Yes. So reports from these scouts that are not being told exactly what to look for are that there's around 5,000 of Rand's men approaching. That's double his forces. He's like 2.5, not even. But he figures, like Willie said, I got magic. I'll be okay. You know, even with 2 demonic, I'll be rad. So it's off to another battle we go. Lots of little battles happening all over. Skirmishes, one might say.
Is this, Joe, sorry to interrupt again, but is this where one of his other advisors, Nadok or something, says they must have about 40,000 people in their force? It has to be because of the sort of the damage that they've done. Was that also still coming?
Yes, it is this part. Yeah, possibly. I did not summarize that.
What I noticed is that they think because of how mobile they are, they think it's far more people than what it actually is. They think it's Altarans and Mirandians.
Yes.
And they think
That's what he's saying. Like, how did these Altarans get in here in such forces? You know?
Yeah, because how did they get... There must be at least 40,000 of them if
Can't
they're
be
killing all these
someone
outposts
else.
and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they're spread out. Like, there's 5,000 here, 5,000 there, 5,000 there, because they're attacking.
But it's the same 5,000.
Widespread. Yeah. Just gatewaying between battles.
Yeah.
So anyway, like I said, we're off to another one of said battles, but it goes terribly for Kadir. Old Furyk. He's watching the battle, and his men are just exploding in front of him. Like, some of them are just being ripped to pieces, and he's going, whoop. There's magic being used here, and ground is exploding and lightning striking from the sky, and it's fucking chaos. The Asha'man are just obliterating them, and he is forced to retreat. So he doesn't die yet, but he's just like, all right, everybody, pick up what you can. We're getting the fuck out of here, and they retreat. Battles are not going in the Seanchan's way. Back to Rand's point of view. His 3-day campaign is now in its 5th day. It's a little bit longer than he was hoping for. So he's like standing on like a ridge overlooking the forest valley floor, you know, where all these battles are taking place, hidden by the trees. So every now and then there's just an explosion as like fire that billows out through the trees, or lightning strikes down into the treetops. So he can't really see the battle or what's happening down there. And he's thinking to himself like, yeah, he would have been pretty much useless with Calandor in this one. He would have just been, you know, striking blindly, probably ending up killing his own men. So just hold on, buddy.
Bit of foreshadowing, yes.
Yeah. So he's holding sight in again. He managed to embrace it while no one was watching. He's not letting go. He's got Flynn and Deshiva there with him. And of course, the ladies Aelin and Anayela. I'm getting that name now. He still hasn't used Calandor. Still wrapped up there under his saddle somewhere, stuck away. When a gateway opens up nearby, and a capital S soldier brings another Suldam to Rand that they have captured. She's got a big lump on her head. They're not too careful with them. So far, they have captured 23 Suldam and 2 Damane. I suppose those 2 Damane that they had, the only 2 that they had. Yeah, captured. The first Imani they had captured, Rand ordered released from her Adam, but she freaked the fuck out. She was actually begging to put it back on, and she lashed out with the one power, killed 9 defenders and one of the Asha'man soldiers before they could shield her. So no more of that. Learnt our lessons. So he tells Nalam, this is the guy, the soldier that just appeared, to take her back to the carts, gateway back to the carts in the where we keeping all the others, and add her to the long list of people we're capturing, of women we're capturing specifically, and then return to the fighting, which kind of makes him a bit sick to his stomach that he's so callous with these men's lives, but that's what you're for.
This is war.
And I created you guys specifically as weapons, so go back and be a weapon. Old Nalam has to go back to the exact spot where he opened the gateway. So he walks off in front, and Rand's like, where the fuck are you going? I said go. And he's like, yeah, no, it's better if I open the gateway from exactly here again, because this weirdness in the power is making, I'm unable to control it. So this is the best way to do it. And Rand's like, these guys are just being a bunch of weirdos now. But Rand's not actually channeling, so he can't tell. He's just holding the power. But these guys, the Asha'man, are feeling it as well. So from what Rand can tell now is that the Seanchan seem to be breaking and retreating. There's shouts and explosions from below, and Rand's like, all right, shit's happening down there now. It seems like we're actually breaking through and making, we're into the final stretch. So Rand orders old Flynn and Deshiva to go down and help finish them off, finish this campaign off for me. And Deshiva's all like, fuck, it said me, dragging his horse behind him. Exactly. Rand's like, that fucking guy. And Deshiva's muttering, so even Flynn at this point is like, kind of stepping aside from him and eyeballing him from the side, like giving him side glances, like, fucking crazy dude. So everyone's a bit uncomfortable around Deshiva. They can sense the evil in him.
Or the madness. They might be perceiving it as madness, right? Like his behavior.
Yes,
like I did as a first-time reader.
Of course. So like everyone's a bit like, oh, Deshiva's on the brink, dudes. He's on the brink. We're going to have to put him down soon, like the others. So anyway, Flynn and Deshiva think this is a bad idea to leave Rand alone. It's like, do you remember the last time you just cantered off on your own near fallen statues? Arrows seem to find their way to you, and he's like, no, fuck off, I can take care of myself, and remember that I've got Ayala and Ainila, whatever their names are, with me. Like, they're here, they can take care of me. And they're like, whoa don't count on us, dude. And also remember, Wyramon said he's secured my rear, so no one's going to come and sneak up from behind me.
His rear.
That will never happen. His rear. Yes, so after they leave, Rand starts thinking that this fighting in the forest is taking out this Seanchan outpost. This has been a bad idea. Like, we shouldn't have done this. I was like, Bashir tried to warn you about this, but whatever. Yeah. It's too late now. It's been 5 days and you're done. Suddenly, Saidin goes mad, like completely out of control, bouncing around in his brain. He's fighting to control it, but he isn't, so he doesn't get burned out, basically, but he loses it. He loses the void. He loses everything. He loses his seating on Taida Shah, and he's on the ground again. He just seems to like it down there on the ground. He's on the ground, dazed, one power gone, helpless as a babe, with an arrow sticking out of his arm. Here it is, Moritz. He has the arrow. Yeah, this is when he's like, what the fuck? Is he looking at his crown of swords has fallen on the ground, and he's looking at it like while he's lying there, and it's got blood on it, and he's like, blood? And he looks around and wait, there's an arrow sticking out of my arm. What the fuck's going on here? It's actually come from the Seanchan forces that are galloping towards him around the mountain from his rear. Willie, that rear that Wyramon said was secured. Goddamn Wyramon. Rand tries to channel to save his own
Goddamn
ass.
Wyramon. You said it.
Goddamn Wyramon.
Should have dealt with that fucking guy all the way back in Illian.
In Tyr.
In Tyr.
Yes.
Yeah, that's that old Furic Kadir or Kadere, whatever his surname is. That maneuver of the sword to the throat. That's what Wyramon needs. Yeah. Rand tries to channel, like, listen, but he's absolutely fucked. He can't even lift his head off the ground, And he hears Luz Theron whisper to him in his mind, "Time to die." It was like, ooh, that's ominous. And of course, he feels those old wounds at his side that have opened up again too, and the blood soaking into his shirt. It's not looking good for old Rand, but we know we're only in Bookgate, so he can't die yet. So, Luz is like, it's time to die, it's dying time, let's go. But out of nowhere, the Terrans and Kyrenians come plowing into the Seanchan from the side, and he hears old Anayela screaming, "Fight, you dogs!" and jumping out of her saddle with a string of curses that'll make a sailor blush. Even, she's in it. I was thinking, oh wow, what a rad. I thought she was a dark friend, but she's concerned of other things. With the Seanchan being handled, Aelil also dismounts and turns Rand over onto his back. It's like, oh, look at these women coming to his aid. I'm thinking foolishly, and Ayala tells Aelil, Jesus, this is hard, Aelil, that if Rand dies under their watch, she's like, could she fathom what the Asha'man will do to them? Those black-coated bastards will skin us alive if, Rand dies while he's under our watch. But this does present a little opportunity, Aelil. If your lance captain could get us away quick enough back to our estates before anyone knows what happens, I think we'll be cool. He has a dagger. You should stab him with it. Both of these women have daggers out. And Rand is out of it. He can't even speak or lift his head. And he's just looking around going, wait a minute. Is she holding a dagger? Is she going to stab me? What the fuck is happening? Luckily for Rand, Bashir is there too, with Gregorin. Gregorin, I don't know. Is he a dark friend too?
No, he's the...
You never know.
He's the leader of the companions, isn't he?
Yes, but that doesn't mean anything in Dark Friends society. So yes. I'm just wondering, because I like
we everywhere.
I'm just like, fuck. Is he a Dark Friend too? This is because I like him, he must be a Dark Friend. So they arrive just in time. And Bashir has some very suspicious looks for these two women with daggers in their hands. He's like, of course, down at the end, of course at the end would be you two bastards. But they step back discreetly, sheathing daggers. What are you talking about? Nothing's happening here. We were just bending down to help him.
Well,
so
Anayela has a ruby-hilted dagger. She's got a dagger out.
Yes.
She's the dark friend that Rand also notices has been hanging around Weramon a lot lately. He thought that she was aligned with someone else. Aelil, he's not sure whether she had a dagger or not. And later in the story, she actually remains loyal to Rand. So I don't think she was as on board with it as Anayela.
No, I don't think so, but she did have her dagger out, because when she steps back, there's a line that says she sheathes her dagger. Okay. And Rand thinks to herself, is she taking it out or putting it back? So it kind of is up in the air. Okay. But I think Anayela was egging on,
this is it. She was saying it outright,
Yeah, this is the time to do it,
Fucking dark friend.
Maybe trying to get her, get her to do the stabbing in case they do get caught. It's
typical dark
me.
Friend. Yeah. Not get their hands dirty.
You never get your hand dirty if you're gonna you never incriminate yourself in front of someone else.
Yeah. When trying to murder the Dragon Reborn, try and manipulate someone else into actually pulling the trigger, so to speak.
Yes. Like the second gunman on the grassy knoll.
Yes, that guy. Edwin, I want to say.
Fedwin.
Ah, it was close.
So close.
So close. Fedwin Moore. Come and heal Rand. Get ya, you son of a bitch. He's not as good at healing as Flynn, but he gets the job done. Mm-hmm. He has a special way and mannerisms in which he has to do it in positions of his hands and everything. But, it's rough, but it's effective. Mm. And also heals up the old wounds, sort of. Mm. Yeah, patches them again. So
there's
Rand
a backstory to that.
There is, isn't there?
Well, totally. He used to heal people as a party trick back when he was a teenager. So they'd get drunk and challenge guys to jump off the barn's roof, and then he would do this healing thing, like arm over the head, like casting a spell.
I think he puts two fingers on his chest.
Yeah, I know. Yes. Same. But that's
the listeners couldn't see your contorted form in the video call that we have at the moment.
I couldn't see it either because I got my notes open on full screen. So I'm just going to go
something to behold.
Shit, we should record the video as well.
Never.
So anyway, Rand is kind of sort of healed. Kind of, sort of. But enough to stand up. He manages to stand up thanks to Moore, and gives thanks to Moore. Like, oh, thanks, mate. And Moore's like,
yes.
holy shit.
You're surprised. Yeah.
Surprised. Thanking me? Who are you? What have you done? Anyway, Bashir's troops have managed to push the Seanchan back into retreat. It's all going well, apparently, and this is when Wyramon arrives. Fucking Wyramon.
After the fact.
Oh, he's so sorry. He's so sorry. He thought he saw some other Seanchan advancing, and he went to meet them, and that's how the other guys slipped through. He never even thought there was another one. Rand thinks, advancing? Didn't we just confirm that they are retreating? Suspicioso. But plausible. Who knows what these Seanchan will do? But Bashir has confirmed and confirms again that they are indeed pulling back. We have won the day. It is over. Gedwin arrives. God, it just makes my skin crawl. To say and confirm that his Asha'man scouts have also spotted 3 more columns, all heading west. Double confirmation, they are retreating. We have won the day. But goddamn Wyramon suggests, you know what we should do? We should chase them back to Ebou Dar. Take the city as well while we're at it, for the glory of the dragon. But Bashir and Gregoran think this is a dumb idea. We should not do this, Rand. The plan was to push the Seanchan out of these mountains and back to Ebou Dar. We have done that. It's time to quit while you're ahead. There's time to forge on, and there's time to turn back. This is one of those turn back times.
Yeah.
But Wyramon's plan has made it into Rand's crazy fucking brain. And Rand's thinking, you know what? It is the last thing that the Seanchan will expect. It's the last thing anyone will expect. Us just fucking showing up in Ebou Dar and taking over and taking the city. Even Luz is thinking like Rand is mad for considering it. Like it's like, well, you'd be cool if you weren't such a madman. But Rand is more than considering it. At the end of the chapter, he's like, Ebou Dar it is, Ebou Dar. And we leave it with Luz Theron cackling like, not cackling like a lunatic, cackling at this lunatic whose head he is stuck in.
Cackling at the lunatic. That is brilliant.
I thought I was the crazy one. But sure. So we leave it like that. So A Time for Iron, I imagine the next chapter is the continuation of Rand's crazy fucking idea to push on to Ebou Dar, where everything will go south.
All the friendly fire.
Yeah. And that's that.
Whoa, I am exhausted, and I didn't even do that weekend.
There is so much.
It's been a trying day.
Yeah. Right, Philly, did you have anything you want to say about all of that?
I'm going to get back to what I went off earlier, but on tangent, but I'm going to just recap on that.
Okay.
That these little meta moments, I'm going to call them meta book moments, where you have a glimpse into an NPC in the story's life. And in this moment, it's like those 2 guys before he gets stabbed in the throat for wanting to make a bad decision. But we had a similar one when they were flying and the one fell to death. A couple of chapters back in part of Daggers. So we've got all these little side stories every now and then that pops up. It's just like 2 pages of a person and an event and a death, and there's a bit of a story there. But I want to rank this one probably as one of my favorite. And I think it was because he stabbed him in the throat.
I don't want to rain on your parade, Vinny, but this character is actually quite prominent in the story now and later.
Oh, no.
Furik Karid.
He's not going anywhere.
No, he reports directly to Tuon. He's around. He's the one that condemns High Lady Suroth for being a dark friend and causes her execution, or her punishment, whatever that ends up being. He's around a lot. He's around with Matt.
That name means
he's in the last battle.
Nothing to me. I do not remember it at all. And I've been over these chapters a couple of times.
I couldn't remember who he was. I mean, obviously the context that he's introduced in gives you some clues, but when I read the name, I was like, that's a name I know. And I went and read up about him, and he's all over the story later.
No way. I didn't even sit with me. And again, maybe
our young brains, Billy, just pushed all the Seanchan out. Don't care. Don't like you guys.
Bad people.
I don't care what your characters are named. I don't care what you're doing. I don't care what redeemable qualities you have. You are all Seanchan, therefore shit. That's my brain anyway.
Well, I'm sticking to the fact that I love that little moment, and I'm
That's a good one.
sticking to like I love these little meta moments of
They
people
are
that
cool. I also enjoy
it's just
them.
the NPC moments that
Mm.
was like I mean the real one that I do remember is the dude falling to his death off the rock and when they were flying and the harness broke or whatever happened in that one episode.
Another cool one that we spoke about on the podcast was when the Shido go through the gateways, and we meet that Shido clan chief and his wife, and their kids were at the back. You know, when Samael gave them the idiot boxes, and they all stepped to and then suddenly everything went wrong, and then they couldn't go back, and there was forces coming to attack, and they were just like, okay, time to die.
Okay, that's it.
And they actually make you
But
sort of
him
like
and his wife, and he was like,
yeah,
but it was a little bit of a words used.
yeah.
It was a nice little moment, a nice
When they
little
see each other in
breakaway.
private again, they could actually talk about like how are they going to get back to their kids. Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose, look, you can't help if you're born a Shido, you know?
No.
Like, what are you going to do?
Look,
You might be a
we've
good
had a
dude,
lot
but
of
you're born a
Waramon
Shido dog.
in these chapters. Can we not bring the Shido into today as well? Like, I can only handle
Yes,
so
okay.
much on a Friday afternoon, evening.
I think Wiramon and Anayela are exposed as dark friends at the same time. When Rand comes down from Dragonmount, he gains the ability to somehow sense whether someone is a dark friend by looking in their eyes, and he lines up all the nobility in Tia and Kyrian, and he goes down the line and he calls out all the dark friends, and Wiramon and Anayela is in that queue.
He cast Dark Sense
Yes,
spell. And then
Upgrade.
rolled a 20 and critted everyone in that room.
He levels up.
Mass sense
big
dark
time.
friend.
Yes. What else?
Yeah, that's
did
like
we
80
have?
spell points.
I was thinking like Eriko must have had some gnarly injuries, because Rand says this is he wouldn't have wanted to live like that of Eriko, like he'd rather die. And then when you mentioned this, Joe, when he thinks of Min having had a vision of Eriko dying in battle, he hopes that she didn't see what the actual injuries were, because then he would feel really bad.
Yeah.
For her.
I think she did.
Yeah.
I think that woman carries around a lot of emotional trauma. I
mean,
like more than anyone else.
Remember when she went to the tower and she saw all the Aes Sedai in the waters with like blood streaming down their faces, like a curtain
Yes.
of blood, and that sort of stuff. It must happen all the time.
Yes, sis.
My book pluralized Damane as Damanes. Put an S on the end. That's not right, is it? Damane plural is still Damane.
In which chapter
It's like
is
sheep.
that?
Yeah. Oh, I'll track it down, but I mean, I'm fairly certain we have read about multiple Damane.
Because
many times
Damane
before.
and Damanes then would always
I
be
think you're-
written in a cursive because it's
Yeah, I think it's one Damane, two Damane.
I think so. Yeah.
I agree.
I was just sanity checking my observation, because when I saw it, it immediately looked wrong. I was like, well, hang on, I've never read that word before. Anyway.
That line from Luce Theron, as I opened up my Kindle, there it is. I would not mind you in my head, Luce Theron said, sounding almost sane, if you were not so clearly mad. That's him talking to Rand.
if there's a rare talent that I have, it is for finding words very quickly on a page. Damanes walking by their horses instead of only two. So it is there. A dozen of Sildam Road near the front of the column, and he wished all 12 had leashed Damanes.
Yeah, so which book do you
So
have? Oh,
yes.
is it this one?
Are you?
Now I've got the new cover.
Interesting.
Oh. I've got a Kindle, so I don't know. But I would imagine 2 out of 3.
Mine is Orbit.
What,
is that Toro? Those are also Orbit.
Orbit.
Yeah. So this
one will probably be
effectively
tall.
that book
Yes,
packaged.
reskinned
Mm.
now. My last 2 notes here. Fedwin Moore is the poor bastard that goes crazy. The one that, after the attack on Rand asks Fedwin Moore to look after Min. And when he comes back, Min has distracted Moore, who has finally gone crazy and now just has the mind of a child. She gives him a bunch of toys, and he just plays with them.
Oh.
and then Rand poisons him.
I remember that. I remember
Like
that.
Mercy kills him. Yeah.
Moritz.
I'm getting choked up just thinking about it. So let's switch to something a bit more fun. Bashir apparently is fascinated by the Raken. Of course he is.
Of course he is.
They're flying
That's
horses.
fucking awesome. I wish I had those.
Yeah, you've got infantry in the sky. It's air superiority.
Yeah. I like.
But I didn't see it that way, Moritz. I thought it was just from a military perspective. Like that would be fucking awesome if you had.
Yes.
If you had air power.
Yes.
But yeah, horses that fly.
Yes.
Yeah, totally. I get it now.
Oh man, that's all from me, and that is then the end of these chapters. So, have you gentlemen picked your favorite moments?
No, I
I
haven't.
have. Oh,
Okay,
switching roles, have we?
quite. All right, Joe. Why don't
wait.
you? What?
One more thing. I've been going through these pages in my Kindle. It's tap, 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 tap,
Okay.
tap, taparoo. Demanes with an S. In the Kindle, it's a Tor version in the Kindle. So that's it. Officially, plural
Am I
Demanes.
crazy? Does it seem weird to you guys?
It does.
No.
Is it Suldams?
No. That feels wrong.
One Suldam.
I'm just like, I'm reacting. I'm not
Sildams.
thinking about it. I'm just reacting. And it just seems wrong, doesn't it?
Well, look,
It does.
English being my second language and the pluralization of things, I would just go demanes. It would be normal to me.
And yet, you've never said that word.
Dams.
I'm going to go back to like a Great Hunt or something to see like where Egwene is in the kennels with a bunch of Demane. And I'm going to go see what they say there. Stand by for callbacks.
Moritz will not tolerate this. I will not accept
No,
this.
absolutely not. It's unacceptable.
He will die on that hill. In the future, if anyone's looking for Moritz's corpse, it's on this hill.
This hill? This is where I died.
Where he died.
It's him, Captain Vernacular.
Right next to the line that I drew in the sand.
With your last moment before death. Okay, that's getting excessive. I would say my favorite moment is one power condom.
The casting of it or Villy's naming of it?
Both. Initially, it was just because I don't know how you visualize things in your brain. It is completely different to mine, perhaps. But in my brain, I have that visualized so well. And I think it's the coolest thing ever. Because getting wet in the rain sucks. And I wish I had that.
And you could
ability.
easily do like a sardine umbrella. You know, like it's a simpler shape, just a dome over your head or even a sphere around you, but to like have it like just above your skin so that it doesn't disturb anything except you or like, you know, prevents you from being rained on is...
And it's like, you got this like, the rain is running down the shield over you, like, but not touching your clothes or your hair and anything. It's like, whoa, cool.
Yeah, so there is water like sheathing down.
Yeah, it's a very cool image, and I liked it a lot. And then it was just upgraded when Billy named it. Like,
Yeah.
A windscreen around you with no wiper blades.
Sure, it's exactly like
sure,
that.
now you're ruining it now, Billy.
Control Z. All right, Phil, what's your favorite moment?
My favorite moment is I honestly struggled. Like, I suppose the comical moments for me was the bath scene with Elaine not admitting that she's got a funny story to tell, but the funny story is all about herself that she won't admit. But it was slim pickings, man. There's no battle scenes. There's before battle, after battle, during a little bit of battle. It's kind of like dealing with the blowout and the consequences of everything that's happening.
Yeah.
There's no like a little bit of people being. There's no feel good moment. There's no real lol out loud moment for me. Like I always find
There's one for me.
one of my key things to a favorite moment is where I react to what I'm listening to or what I'm reading. Where I go like, ha, that's great.
Yeah,
Or
rad, or
oh
oh
no,
no.
yeah. Like
Yeah.
it takes a little bit to get me to do that sort of emoting
Mm,
out loud while I'm listening to a book or reading. I mean, like in one of the chapters, there was a moment when I was on the plane during my travels,
mm.
and I laughed out loud, and then I'm like, that's a favorite moment there. But
So
it's
not
not
these
this
chapters.
stretch, not these chapters. No,
Ah,
there was like little noticeable moments,
yeah. Mhm,
but nothing real favoritey. And I suppose it goes with the theme of winter. And it's
mm.
ironic that we're going into this stretch of the book as we just going into winter. So all of a
Yeah,
sudden, daylight savings gone, and it's dark in the
yeah,
middle of like 5 o'clock.
yeah,
Like it's an abnormal time to be dark, and I
yeah.
live like so much more south than you, so you're not even
Yes.
feeling the real. But now I'm also in
It's
rainy
darker.
Rand chapters with condom cladded Asha'man.
Yeah. You need to
And
get yourself a sardine condom for the Melbourne weather.
yeah, that would be fantastic. But no,
So are you going to
yeah,
abstain from picking a favorite moment? Just nothing to enjoy out of any of these chapters.
no. I'm gonna throw everything at Asid Bakun,
Hmm.
the Forerunner commander
Hmm.
that has led the ever victorious armies, and
Some of them. He
that
hasn't
is
led the army.
about to get destroyed by Rand. And I'm just gonna tip one out for that poor homie there. That he got one name mentioned, and
Yeah.
that's it.
And then snuffed off page.
It's
Like no,
like,
no, you don't
God,
even see it. Yeah.
this is for that average Joe over there that
Okay.
only gets mentioned once.
Pour one out. You mentioned there's no laugh out loud moments, but there was one laugh out loud moment for me. I can't remember if we even mentioned it in the chapter recap, but after that dude tries to shoot Rand with an arrow, the first guy, the Illionaire that that met in the road earlier and led all those men,
Pedro.
um, yeah, Pedro, when he gets fireballed and Rocade is sort of like going through his possessions and he finds all these Tarvalon gold marks in there. He goes, Tarvalon gold mark, and he sort of flicks it over to Rand, and Rand completely ignores it. He doesn't go to catch it or anything. It just
Just
bounces
catch
off
it,
his
just
arm. It's just like,
what do you
he doesn't even acknowledge that it happened. And I just think to myself what like everyone would have thought in that scene, like, oh, hang on. Whoa, did he see that?
Well, look, the thing that made it for me sort of yes and no is Rand didn't catch it because Rand is in such a bad, sick
Yeah.
place.
Yeah.
So it's not as if Rand um, didn't react to it or that he did it because of a stoic, like, who the fuck are you
Mm,
throwing something at me? I won't even acknowledge your action by catching it. It's like I used to go to church camps like
mm.
way back,
Me too.
and this pastor was so cool and so good with the kids. Not in that way. But he used to have this thing that he would be in the morning getting up and everyone line up for their breakfast or whatever. So this would be in some wilderness area.
Mm,
And then he would throw his coffee mug at you that's empty. So you would immediately go into a spurt panic of
yeah.
trying to
Catch
catch
it.
the coffee
Yeah.
mug and not to break it. Um,
Was it an
anyway,
enamel mug or a porcelain one? Like a
no,
ceramic?
like an actual porcelain,
Oh,
an actual
jeez.
beaker, like
Whoa.
it's
Okay. Yeah.
and it happened. Eventually, someone dropped it and it broke, and
Well, I mean,
everyone stood back and like, what was the lesson actually, Germany? What did you try and teach us?
I think some of Rand's motivation for not going for the coin is also because he doesn't put any stock in the theory, like, Tarvalon coins, right? So someone in the White Tower must have paid him. And I think Bashir or someone said, I have Tarvalon coins in my pocket right now. Like, this doesn't mean anything. Rand is just
Yes, it
so
was actually. I got 5 of them.
dismissive of this, like, this theory and of this person and of everything that's transpiring. He just didn't have time to even engage with it in a way that means like catching the coin or moving out of the way. It's just what was funny to me is just like flat ignore, like let the coin bounce off him and not even acknowledge that. Yeah.
Like, almost, it's cartoony in a way.
Yeah.
Um, but I think like I'm still putting my mind
Uh-huh.
in the position that Rand was not even really like not even really thinking about anything at that time.
No.
It's like
And
he had
certainly
a
not this
conversation
harebrained
with loose
theory,
off page about kill them all. It's like
probably. I had an honorable mention for the Taishar Candor line from Lan. I just
mm,
love it when Lan sort of like recognizes, the things that he holds in high esteem, like bravery under duress, like taking a certain amount of pain with like stoicism and that sort of like those are all like Lan things. So when Birgitte doesn't react big time when he pulls that crossbow bolt out of her, and he goes, Taishar Candor. That's good.
I'm not gonna let Birgitte and this thing throw a ruse over Lan. For me, that line Taisho Candle should be with a question mark at the end, like candle
Mm-hmm.
with the Taisha bit. Yes, like
Mm-hmm.
that's like Land going, oh yeah, Taisha. You haven't told me much about yourself. Candle? Question mark.
Probably. I mean, he says that he made an assumption based on her clothes.
Mm.
I don't think that Land suspects that she is the actual Birgitte Silverbow from the Age of Legends, because this concept or this principle of a person that was alive hundreds of thousands of years ago being in their midst right now, yanked from Tel'aran'rhiod.
But
Like,
he would also be always on the lookout for a dark friend, someone with wanting their way in close to. I mean, he's now married. Nynaeve's there, his wife.
mhm,
So his motivations is surely going to be sort of, okay, who's all these people that surround her? Because she's
mhm,
been targeted not once, how many times now? She's battle forsaken. I mean,
mhm.
he's gonna water the shit out of watering for her.
Yeah.
So Lan doing that for me, it should be even more like knowing the depths of every single person around them at that point in time. And that's my sort of motivation in thinking that it's sort of Tasha, like, yes, you're strong. Are you forsaken? Candor?
I
Question.
I don't know if I mean, this is open to interpretation. I don't know that I would go that far. I think Lan, he's not trying to wheedle information out of people. I think he genuinely
No, I
respects what
know.
she did in that moment, and his method of complimenting someone is, Taishar Manetherin, like, so he
Mm.
has to pick something. So he goes, Candor? Is that where you're from? That sort of thing. Not because he's like protecting his wife and he needs to investigate everyone that's around him, because he's not doing that with anybody. He doesn't
Yeah,
talk
but if
to
you
anyone.
create these sort of ideas and thoughts in your own head, the story becomes more interesting.
Yes.
Because there's not enough story
No,
for us to
no.
work
Billy's
with.
creating a whole suite of supplementary material that goes along with the Wheel of Time.
Filling the gaps, filling the gaps.
Yeah, an alternate history to the Wheel of Time by Willie.
I've said this before. My my biggest thing about it, my childhood brain has always been that I cannot watch a movie and there's no like summarizing of the events and how it ended. Like every movie I had to have like he was arrested. And then I get like movie snips. Not like that. I was like, what is this? Like, why would you make a story and not give the answers? You make questions. Like, if I was a kid and I had to watch that movie where there was the suitcase, what was the movie's name where there's a suitcase that they had to maneuver around and eventually they open the suitcase and it's just like this gold reflection out of it, but you never
Pulp
get to
Fiction.
see in the suit. Pulp
Oh,
Fiction.
it's Pulp Fiction, yeah.
Pulp Fiction, yes.
Hmm.
That would have killed me if I was watching that in my early
That
teens.
would have been the problem for a child in that movie.
Like that would have ended me. Like it's like what the fuck are you doing to me?
Okay.
Righto.
Well, to our listeners, send in your supplementary material and fan fiction and questions and answers and comments on our theories, especially Villy's imaginative creations that he's weaving for us here. You can do that by tweeting us at Blood and Ash Pod, or you can go to our website, bloodandashespodcast.com, where you can leave a message either in writing or record a voice message that we could potentially play on the show. You can also find links there to our t-shirt store. You can also contact us using any of the social media links in the episode description below, including a link to our Discord server. But now, let us talk about next time on Blood and Ashes, where we will do Chapter 24, A Time for Iron, as you mentioned, Jody, through to the end of chapter 27, called The Bargain. There's 4 chapters. Yes, Jody, the math checks out.
It was
Confirmed. My finger math.
A Time for Iron, An Unwelcome Return, The Extra Bit, The Bargain.
Oh, not another
the extra
bargain.
bit. Is that like Villy's stories? Like a little side story about a character that dies immediately afterwards.
I've already done the chapter allocations, but I'll go check and make sure that Willie gets the extra bit.
Ah, there we go. I love it.
But until we do that, I will say to you, sleep well and wake.
Good night.
Adios.